This is the week, folks. A lot of big old trophies on the line in the Big Ten. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. It's our Big Ten live show. We just got off about 50 minutes ago with Steve Dace. Check out the live stream, Ohio State, Michigan preview. Now we're going to break down and preview all the really big games in the Big Ten. All right. Of course, we've got nothing to play for on Friday and Saturday besides that one game. The rest of it just tradition, rivalries, all that. But I'm in for it. Definitely in for it. All you got to say is Minnesota, Wisconsin, Paul Bunyan's Axe, Iowa, Nebraska, whatever they play for. But it's the Big Ten designation for the final weekend of the season on Black Friday. The Old Oaken Bucket, Indiana, Purdue, the Land Grant Trophy. Is that what it is? Penn State and Michigan State. That will no longer take place in regards to being a last game of the season matchup going forward, 2024 and beyond. They've corrected that. That will no longer be an every season, quote unquote, rivalry that the Big Ten tried to establish back in 1993. In putting together Michigan State and Penn State. Illinois and Northwestern, of course. Yes, that's a big one as well. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. The Voice of College Football. The Amazon links in the description section of every video, including this one. So when you shop on Amazon, and Christmas is coming, when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. It benefits the channel. Therefore, be selfish. It benefits you. We are going to go nuts on Ohio State, Michigan. We already have. Steve Dace again. Check out the preview that we provided. It got quite interesting with Steve, as it always does. And please join Steve on Michigan Podcast. I will be appearing there this week. And so that's released a little bit later in the day on Tuesday over on Michigan Podcast. So I will make my usual appearance. And this one, of course, I look forward to even more than the rest because it is the game, the week of the game. Let's see. Coming up Tuesday, I'm going to be manning the watch party for the college football playoff rankings, but John D'Adamo will have our Michigan live show. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern time over on the Michigan channel. So get there for more Michigan football coverage. And then I will be hosting, believe it or not, I will be hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes live show Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then just a couple hours after that, guess what? We're going to do another Buckeyes live edition at 2 p.m. Eastern time with Zach Smith. And then we also have Best Damn Media jumping on with us as well. And of course, on Saturday, just stay tuned to the complete lineup of what we will have available on Saturday. Not going to announce that too early because I figure if I announce it on a Monday, what we're doing on Saturday, everything that you shovel down your throats Thursday afternoon on Thanksgiving is probably just going to put you into just a complete brain trauma of food narcotics. So you're not going to be able to remember anything after that. So lock it in all week. That's all you need to know here at the Voice for College Football. All right, let's get right to the phone lines because this should be a good time. And take it easy on me. I've not been able to prep the Indiana-Purdue game. I have not taken a lot of time to prep that, and I know what that's going to be at center stage of all the phone calls, the old Oaken bucket. So let's get to it right now. We got Chris on the line. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Appreciate you being here.
You mentioned some of the rivalry games, Mark. Are they reserve those, I guess, for the last game of the season? Is that kind of what they do?
Mostly. There are other games and rivalries in other conferences for sure that are played at other times of the year, but this is, of course, rivalry week, and the Big Ten is very particular about that, and more so than I guess the other conferences to a certain extent.
I'm going to demonstrate my ignorance on this next question. What exactly is Ohio State and Michigan? What are they playing for? What's the name?
They just play for the Big Ten championship is what they play for.
No, I mean, what's the trophy that they're playing for?
And that's my line right there. They just play for championships. There is no trophy connected to that game. None.
Oh, okay.
There's not a trophy for that game.
A question that was completely stupid, and I guess it wasn't as stupid as I thought it was.
No, not at all. It's not. But yeah, you would think that maybe there would be some kind of trophy since they've been playing since 1897. And there are about 13, I think, is the number of trophy games in the Big Ten. It's a ridiculous number of trophy games, but there's not one for the most obvious rivalry.
Is that maybe something that somebody should amend? I mean, generally, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would think there's nothing, I guess, that they can like put in the trophy case for that game other than, I guess.
There's not.
Oh, is that by design?
But I almost think that that's apropos.
Oh, okay. It's not because they want, what is it? They don't want the trophy for it. They just want is it for the Rose Bowl? Was that what it was for before the Rose Bowl?
Well, many times it was for the Rose Bowl. Wasn't technically for the Rose Bowl. It was whomever were the best teams in the Big Ten. But as you well know, I'm guessing because you're a student of college football that you know that this game has been played for the Rose Bowl more often by far than any matchup in the Big Ten.
Actually, wasn't it considered to be, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, because I'm usually wrong. So wasn't it sometimes considered to be the national championship game, kind of maybe regular season? Because I have it kind of configured this season to where the winner should be in the front running for the championship, regardless of who actually wins and how they get there. Won't it kind of maybe be the national championship game played preliminary to the bowl games?
Well, in terms of your proficiency ratings, I would think that it would factor heavily into that. The winner has to go play a Big Ten championship game against Iowa.
It's not just that. It's the way that it's not because I would necessarily want it to be this way, but it has Ohio State, I think, and Michigan top two. It's actually a national championship pairing of teams right now. I don't know if you were aware of that. Yeah, it's by my proficiency rating, but it's not necessarily because I'm not configuring it so that it be that way. It's just the way it is. It's going to probably select the team that's going to win the championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, under your system.
Well, okay.
But in the system, the winner is still going to have to win 3 more games.
Okay. Well, or more. I mean, I don't know. That's what I mean. Well,
the Big Ten championship game and 2 playoff games
this season, but I mean, moving forward, it's going to be even more than that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's kind of why I don't know if that's a good thing for anybody, because I kind of think there's a limit on number of games that a team can really prepare for. Maybe I'm wrong to think that way, but you think there's like no limit to the number of games they can prepare for and be motivated, I guess, to win?
No, I
I mean,
think that's a reasonable point that you're bringing up. It's a physical sport. There's only so many games that can be played. Of course, it's not basketball or baseball where they play 50 games or 100 games or more. So they can only put their bodies through that and deliver that kind of intensity so many times. I agree with that. There are down points to the playoff. Absolutely. I've only defended the playoff in this manner. The best team should be on the field against each other to determine the champion, but there are negatives to the expanded playoff. Absolutely.
is there maybe you can help me? I don't want to get off topic. I know we're on the Big Ten, but is there going to be a way that I mean, what's the general way they're going to make a decision about who gets to the go? I mean, is there a way that they can pick the teams that go, or how is that going to be done? Do you know?
It's going to be done the same way it is now with a committee.
Okay. Do you like that idea?
No, I'm not crazy about it. I do like that while right now we've got 5 major conferences and we only have 4 spots, that going forward, all the conference champions, meaning in the Power 5,
Right.
will be included, or the Power 4. It's going to be starting next season. The Power 4 have automatic bids.
Here's something I just want to tell you, and you don't necessarily have to share my opinion on it. It's something I kind of do. I get bored, and so I go through and I don't just do the rankings. I also kind of do the conference evaluation. I think the American Athletic, it's one of the lower rated conferences, even though they're, arguably the best G5 usually. But this season, or at least over this course of this season, they're actually one of the lower rated ones. But the reason I bring that up, I think the only one rated lower, if I'm not mistaken, is the MAC. But so everybody else is rated at the same level as the American or higher. And the MAC really isn't that far behind to where it's like a big, adjustment or whatever. But I might even be wrong about that. But I guess what I'm trying to explain is it seems like maybe there's not as big of a difference between the P5 and G5 as maybe as there used to be, even though I'm not completely sure about that either. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, my opinions can't be backed by data because I haven't sat down and tried to figure it out. But the first thing that comes to mind would be, number one, the American would have the biggest decline in quality of play because 3 of its best schools left the conference.
All right.
So that's number one. And I know they were replaced, but they were not replaced in regards to quality. And then number 2, that there would be, and again, I can't back this up based on data because I haven't looked at the results and to try to make sense of it. But I would think that there would be a growing gap between the Power 5 and the G5 because, again, the 3 of the better schools from the G5 just recently, just this season, have elevated to the Power 5.
And they haven't really done that great. That's the other stuff.
They haven't.
In fact, I think it's probably fair to say all 4 have kind of been disappointing in some ways.
Yes. And that's another reason why I think that validates much of what I say about there being the gap that there is between the Power 5 and the Group of 5. The last I checked, those 4 schools were 3-17 against Power 5 teams.
Well, I noticed Houston they're like 4-7 or something. They're really not very good. And then Cincinnati isn't much better. And then Central Florida, surprisingly, they're only 5-6. And then so is BYU. And so none of them are winning. They're all below the margin. They're all
But even most of those wins are against group of 5 teams.
For who?
Any of them.
For any of them, okay.
They're non-conference wins.
So they're not performing up to where they need to even be in the chase for it, really.
Well, let's put it this way. Let me look at the standings right now. So right now we've got Cincinnati's 1-7 in the conference, UCF's 2-6, that's 3-13, BYU's 2-6, that's 5-19, and Houston is 2-6, so that's 7-25. And at least 3 or 4 of those wins out of those 7 are against each other.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Kind of proves the point, I guess.
I think it's just going to take some time. It's not like they're going to be relegated to the basement of the Big 12 forever. I just think, much like when TCU, as you remember well, when they joined the Big 12, it took them a few years to improve and adjust, and Utah to the Pac-12, and there are other examples. They don't have the depth, they don't have the level of athlete that they're going to be able to recruit now.
There was a person I don't know if it really, somebody was trying to make the case that because Michigan got beat by Texas Christian, that was like evidence that Michigan wasn't very good last year. I don't know what that really, I mean, weren't they a little shorthanded? Maybe didn't they lack some depth on the offense there a little bit? Michigan last year.
Well, they were missing their best running back, who was one of the best running backs in college football. Yes, that comes to mind. He comes to mind. There were other injuries. Everybody's injured to a certain degree at that point.
Right. Do you think that impacted the way that the national championship went?
Well, I truly believe that even though TCU won the game fair and square, that Michigan was a better team and would have won that matchup most of the time, but they didn't. But I believe that Georgia was far and away the best team.
Right. Well, that makes sense, I guess. But then we have the other side of it, though, where if Ohio State had done a little bit better, I guess, on the even maybe just preparing for the last play or whatever, that they could have actually beaten Georgia.
Oh, sure.
What does that do as far as that changes the way that the championship game plays out, right? I mean, it doesn't. Is there a way, I guess, to level it to where? I mean, it wouldn't have really been fair to Georgia because Georgia was undefeated going into that game. So would it have eliminated Georgia necessarily? Are they still in the chase? Or are they out?
Yes, if they would have lost to Ohio State, they would not have played in the national championship game. It would have been Ohio State and TCU.
There's an example one season I noticed. I don't know if you were aware of this or not. In 1982, Georgia played Penn State in was it
Sugar?
They finished with the same record, though. And so I guess that basically boils down to head-to-head, huh? To make a decision on which team actually was the better team. I know that's kind of a stupid question, but.
No, it's not a stupid question. But, yeah, that's where the voters went. They went with Penn State, and they only won a 4-point game. It was a close game. It was a good game. 27-23 from what I remember. And that Penn State team lost to Alabama by 3 touchdowns.
Oh, by 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think it was 42-21.
So it's not how you start, it's how you finish, maybe, that makes the difference?
Well, that was obviously a completely different world. That was in the world of the AP voters and the coaches poll determining the national champion. Yeah. And they treated the bowl games much like playoff games in a sense.
I don't think a playoff would have necessarily made that season any better, would it?
Well, we would have had Georgia and Penn State. Then I'd have to go through and remember who else. Let's see. Who else was I know Nebraska only had 1 loss.
So you would have another.
They beat LSU in the Orange Bowl that year. And I'm trying to think. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 really weren't in it. They didn't have that type of record. So I know Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska had a claim at a national title that year.
They did?
Well, they only had 1 loss, just like the other 2 teams.
Oh, I see what you're saying. In those circumstances, was it like, for example, I think it was 1989. I know you won't agree with this analysis necessarily, but because Miami, Florida, I think beat Notre Dame. But I think if they go based on the record, I know I think Miami, Florida was 11-1 and Notre Dame was 12-1. You don't think that should maybe when you have a circumstance like that where one team, they have kind of the same record, except you think it should still go to the head-to-head bet over the percentages?
Yes.
But what about the fact that Miami, Florida got beat? Because they had a loss.
So they won head-to-head. So anyway, Chris, I would love to discuss all of this at a later date. We have a long off season to talk about 1989 and 1982, and I would love to do that. But this show is reserved for the Big Ten, and specifically, we only have 1 precious week left in the regular season.
I understand. I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying. I think if we add these games at the end of the back end of the season, I guess I'm not sure it's going to make things any better, is all I'm just saying. I don't really quite understand how that helps, but I guess that's okay. I mean, if you like it, that's fine. I don't know that I agree, but that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, just as I am, I guess.
Again, we'll have this conversation at a later date, but I believe the playoffs are a good thing to determine the best team or the most deserving team. But there are negatives to the playoffs, and we discussed one of them just a couple hours ago with Steve Dace from Michigan Podcast, in that we will have repeat games among the better teams in the country.
That was kind of my intro. It was like, maybe you didn't quite catch what I was trying to tell you. Why should, for example, I guess I didn't say it very well, Mark. It's my fault, not yours. So whichever team wins this week, why aren't they out? Is kind of my point. Why are they still okay? Well, Michigan lost to, or if they do, I'm not saying they will. Michigan lost to Ohio State. Okay, well, why are they still in the chase if they got beat? Is kind of where I'm.
Well, they most likely won't be.
Oh, okay. So you don't think that they won't advance if they lose? Then you don't think they'll advance?
Well, again, you understand the process. The process is that a committee selects it. So it's not like the NFL playoffs where we can definitively say, oh, if so-and-so loses this game, they're out of the playoffs. It doesn't work like that. The committee selects it. So, but it is widely believed that Michigan and Ohio State both have to win this game to get to the playoffs.
I guess I just think BCS worked a lot better. I know you don't like that idea, but I do. I don't like the playoff at all. I don't like it.
Well, the one thing that I don't know that I got across to you, and this is the last thing I'll say on the topic, is that it wasn't so much the BCS that I had an issue with. It was the selection of only two teams playing in a championship game.
Right.
When there were other teams that were just as worthy as those two teams.
Sometimes, but that wasn't that often. Yeah, okay.
All right, in my opinion, it was very often.
But I understand. Have a good day.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, man, I could talk college football history all the time, but we'll reserve those conversations for like May, June. All right. Biggs Mikes, how you doing tonight?
The man, the myth, the legend, Mark Rogers. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Oh, it's the week. It's finally here. It's finally
I know
here.
it. It's crazy.
I know. It just flew by, didn't it? It's insane.
Tends to do that.
It sure does. Oh, yeah. It's just the anticipation of this game, like for many reasons, kind of like we were talking about briefly a while ago with the playoffs or with going to 12 teams. The magnitude of this game won't ever be duplicated again just because of the way the playoffs are going to work going forward. So it's just not going to – I mean, it's like Michigan always wants to beat Ohio State. Ohio State always wants to beat Michigan, but the implications won't be as high. But like if Michigan was to lose this game next year, they would still be in the playoffs.
The only rare exception to that will be if Ohio State or Michigan or both are, let's say, 9-2 going into that game, and the loser will probably get eliminated from the playoffs, as opposed to being a 10 seed in the playoffs.
Gotcha. Yeah, true. It's just I love the expanded playoffs, but I also kind of miss the excitement that this game kind of has with these.
Yeah.
Right. It's a double-edged sword, I guess. Right. Like I'm happy 12 teams are going to get in, make it more competitive, more people have a chance to win. But like, games like this, me growing up, watching this rivalry for 30 plus years, it was just always the game. So it's
we know. Think about this. We know that with the expanded playoffs and with the different format that the Big Ten's going to, and it's no way that you can take the past and put it to the present for sure, because there's going to be USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. But this would be the third consecutive year that Ohio State and Michigan will not just had played the last game of the regular season, but they will be, if this were 2024 and beyond, in 21, 22, and now 23, they would have just turned around and played the Big Ten championship game then.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I can't even imagine that, even seeing that happen in the future. Next year if that happened, it'd be so weird seeing Michigan and Ohio State play for in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, there's all this build up for it. And you know what's worse is it would be one thing going into this game if there had to be more work done by one or both of the teams to get to the Big Ten championship game, meaning Michigan already secured, let's say, a spot in the Big Ten championship game, but Ohio State has to win to get to the Big Ten championship to force a rematch.
Yeah.
But these teams have been so far out in front of everybody else that it didn't matter the last 3 years. Who would have won the game? Didn't matter. They were still both going to play in the Big Ten championship game, which raises a lot of concerns for future years about the handling of personnel. And do you play all out in this game? If you know you're going to have to play the same exact game in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, say, for instance, like Blake Corum, or, if he was banged up or whatever, like, well, just rest. We already secured the Big Ten. We're going to play them again in a week anyway. So just rest. There's no need to hurt yourself. So there's so many scenarios that can happen going forward with this new scenario, which is, it's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting no matter what, right? I'm just really going to enjoy this week right here that we have with just the way what it's built up to be. Because it's kind of like the end of an era in a sense. So
It is. It sure is.
A little bit about the game. I know people, because Michigan did not, that was not the best performance last against Maryland, but it's almost the same way it happened last year against Illinois. I mean, we needed a last-second field goal to beat them. JJ did not look good in that game. He missed a bunch of open receivers in that game, and everybody was kind of down on Michigan. And then we saw how that turned out against Ohio State. So, I mean, that was not their best performance, but and kind of to me, it was kind of good that game happened. They had to play in the fourth quarter, which they haven't really had to do all year, and they had intense situations that they had to go through. They haven't really dealt with that all year, so it's kind of good to be, you needed to stop in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes to go to secure the game. So I kind of look at that as, you can spin it as a positive. I mean, Michigan did not play well at all, but you got to take the good from the bad.
Yeah, and we can read into all sorts of things like, well, Michigan struggled the weekend before, so that's going to wake them up, or that's a precursor to them not playing well. We can make all sorts of things, but history shows us that none of those things are a trend. There's been teams lose the week before and win. There's been teams that lose the week before and lose again. There are all sorts of, there are no trends to any of that. None.
Especially in this game with the emotion that's going to be played, everything's out the window. It's its own game. So whatever happened the last 10 weeks, it doesn't really matter in this game. So I'm just, hey, I did hear, I've heard some Ohio State fans. I heard it's supposed to be like 33 degrees and maybe raining in Ann Arbor this Saturday. So the weather's been coming up already for the Ohio State fans.
Well, you could say that, yeah, and Michigan fans have every reason to go that route, but I don't know that this Ohio State team's not better equipped for weather than Michigan is. They seem to be less reliant on the passing game. I don't know. I shouldn't say that one way or the other. It's about the same.
I'm just messing with you.
I know you are.
The way Henderson is running the ball the last few weeks, you're way more equipped this year than you had the last 2 years to deal with weather. Now you got to go do it, right? You got to make it happen. But yeah, the way Henderson's been running, like it's weird being more fearful of Ohio State's running game than the passing game. But Marvin Harrison is still the X factor to me. I think that guy he's what he can do on the field is just not even fair. And I saw what Maryland receivers did to a couple of our corners last week. So the Michigan's got a lot to be prepared for.
Absolutely. Anything else, man?
No, that's it, man. I just want to call and also before I go, wish you and the family a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you.
The best, and enjoy all the food and football you can.
Appreciate that.
I'll call you no matter how it goes down on Saturday. I will call you.
Well,
Michigan wins, Michigan loses. I will call you to congratulate you, or gloat a little bit. One of the two.
You can, you are welcome, of course.
But you take care. I appreciate all you do and giving us a voice to talk to you. So
thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, buddy. You take care, my friend.
You too. All right, goodwill coming in from the Michigan side. Love that. All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football, and we also appreciate Biggs Mikes all the time, so that's not anything new from him. And we've got the ever-changing Michigan spying intel.
What's up, Mark? Is
Can you
my
make that
audio
a little
good?
longer?
I could make, yeah, I could make it just a little bit longer, but it's got to sound official. You know what I mean? So, oh man, can you hear me? Is my audio good?
Your audio is fine.
10-4. I just wanted to say, well, actually, I just had a question for you. Basically, Ryan Day. I know you said earlier that you didn't. You obviously said he shouldn't be fired if they lose this game. If they lose this game, and I agree with you on that. I do want to ask you though, if Ryan Day does lose this game, how does he navigate through the offseason into next season, having lost 3 games to Michigan, considering the fan base at Ohio State? How does he navigate that with the calm head? And it just seems like that would, because the fan base is so visceral and at times, and I just don't see how he could continue on, honest to God. I really don't.
No, I get your point. It's going to be difficult because what you do between losing that game on Saturday and even going through 11 games of possibly going 11-0 again, in the eyes of most, don't even matter. So you got to get back on the hamster wheel for 365 days and grind it out, because nothing you do, winning every game 50-0 before that, you cannot correct that until you play that team again. And it's kind of unlike anywhere else in the country. And I know that there are other great rivalries, and I've covered them. I've been in the middle of them. Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, 2 in particular. When I say cover, I mean not just sitting here covering, but being in the locker rooms and on the sideline and talking to the coaches and all that business. But this one, in terms of making one game everything, I don't know that this is done anywhere else.
I don't think it is, honestly. But that's what makes it so great, though. There's so much on the line, but it can also make it abysmal, because if you lose, there's just so much on the table.
And of course, in addition, not to cut you off, the part in all that people don't think about often is the firing is only, that's the easy part. Who do you get to replace him?
I know. See, look, I'll tell you, I want him gone because I know he's a good coach. I know he's a really, really good coach. And I have to say, I would be a little bit excited if they fired him, because I don't think there is a whole lot of world beater coaches available right now. I could be wrong, but I just don't think there is. Especially you've got Texas A&M looking for a coach. They're another big player. I just think it'd be difficult for them to find a coach. So I think it'd be the wrong move if they did fire him this year, even if they lose. I know a 3rd straight loss would be hard to swallow. And that kind of alludes me to my next question. What do you think, in all honesty? Now, we don't have a crystal ball in front of us, but I would just like your honest answer. Depending, either which way this game goes, how likely do you think it is that both Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day will both be back next year coaching their respective teams, and neither one of them will? What do you think the likelihood of that is, that they'll both be back next year?
Well, the likelihood of the winner is obviously higher than the loser. So for me, I think that the likelihood that Ryan Day will be back with a win is almost 100%. With a loss, now we just had Steve Dace on here a couple hours ago, and he believes that Ryan Day is gone if Ohio State loses that game. Mm-hmm. I do not believe that. But is the possibility much greater? Whether that's because Ohio State fires him or he just can't stand being in this situation any longer, doesn't want to go through another year of it, and is able to land an NFL job. I would say 80 or 85% certainty that he is going to be back if he loses. Now, Jim Harbaugh, if he wins, there's still a chance that he may not come back because of all the other business that he has to deal with the NCAA. And if he sees that going in a direction that he doesn't want to deal with, he may not come back. Does Michigan fire a coach that beat Ohio State 3 consecutive years, won 3 Big Ten titles, and who knows, maybe wins a national championship just because the NCAA is all over them? I don't think so. But Not for this. I don't think so. But if he loses this game and things go badly in the offseason, or he thinks it's going to go badly in the offseason and he has other options, I think that's the most likely scenario of one of these guys not coming back.
I tend to agree with you. I think there's a much higher chance that Jim Harbaugh won't be back, just because of options. He's his brother is an NFL coach. Ryan Day has NFL ties too, but Jim Harbaugh's got, I think, a lot more NFL ties, and it would be a lot easier for him to snag a job. And the timing does seem right. And like I said, I think that would be a win-win as far as because I did think that if Michigan offered Jim Harbaugh up on a plate, as an offering, that would help us. And then, like I said, I know there's a hell of a lot of Michigan fans that disagree with that, but there's some Michigan fans that don't. There's quite a few, actually, like really level-headed Michigan fans that look at the whole program. Like I said, when you've had all the stuff happen, at some point you do have to look at not Ryan Day. You do have to look at Jim Harbaugh and say, hey, you hired all these people. Like, this is your baby. Why is all this stuff happening? Why don't you have better control of it? And I love Jim Harbaugh, and I love Steve Dace too. I love me some Steve Dace. I love watching his show, but I disagree with him on that, though. What he said about, he doesn't care if Jim Harbaugh knows or not. It sounds good, but we're not making the rules. And the NCAA can, if they want to get us, they can get us, and they already have us to an extent. I mean, one of our staffers dressed up as as a staff member for another team. I mean, there's something there. And like I said, I love Jim Harbaugh, but I love Michigan more. I moved to Michigan years and years ago, being a Southern boy, and I thought that I was not going to fit in and be an outcast, and it was the exact opposite. Everybody, I made so many friends, and everybody was so cool. And my son at 3 years old, his very first game was at the Big House, and so I'm really passionate about it. But I just want the program to be in good shape, and it's nothing against Jim Harbaugh. And one last question I want to ask you: if Ohio State wins or Michigan wins, regardless, do you think that either one of them, there's a clear path to a victory against Georgia? Now, keep in mind, Georgia's, I mean, they're slaughtering everybody they're playing right now. They struggled against Auburn, but I mean, they just look so complete to me, and I don't know if, as a Michigan fan, I would love to see that game, but right now I think we need to just play for Ohio State and play to beat Ohio State, because Georgia just looks so incredibly tough this year.
Well, before I answer that question, do you think that there are teams that are better equipped to beat Georgia than those two?
Yes, and I would be honest with you. Now, I'm kind of playing Russian roulette, giving my opinion on this, but I think Alabama, and the only reason is because they've been there and done that so many times. A lot of people were, I think Alabama may have been the underdogs in 2021 when they played for the SEC championship. If I remember straight, I remember most people thought Georgia was going to win, and Alabama drug them the entire game. There is a secret sauce to Alabama's success, I think, and I think that Alabama may have a better chance of beating them than Michigan or Ohio State. Now, that's just my personal opinion, and that's just because they've done it before. We haven't. Ohio State is nil against Georgia all time, and I don't think Michigan's ever beat them either. And the way they're playing right now, that smash mouth football, I'm not sure either one of us would have an answer for it. I really don't.
Well, I understand Ohio State's never beaten Georgia, but you act like they've played like 18 times.
No, they haven't. They haven't. And they almost beat them last year. That's exactly right. Yeah, you've got a fair point there. And they got really close last year. But, Ohio State does not look as good to me as they do last year. I know that's something a lot of people have been saying.
Oh, I think they look better.
They're think that Ohio State looks
today.
Better with?
Yes.
You think
they're a better team?
A Kyle McCord-led team is better than the C.J. Stroud?
Two sides of the ball in a running game. They're a better team today than they were this point last year.
Woo.
Absolutely, they are.
Mark, okay, I'll take your word. You would know.
The defense is so much better, and the run game is better. They had no run game against Michigan. They had hurt running backs all over the place, injured running backs. They basically played played a 4-string running back against Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand, and I will say one of our Achilles heel too is when we played Maryland. Talia Tagovailoa looked like a Heisman contender up against us. I mean, our pass rushing, he was completing so many passes, and I was thinking that's going to be a problem when we play Ohio State because they like to throw the ball. Now they also have TreVeyon Henderson, but I think TreVeyon Henderson is going to have he's going to have a full day's work because we do have a really good defensive line. We've got good linebackers. We've got overall a pretty sound defense, so I think we'll be up to the task. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving. And I just want to say to everybody, whether you're a Bucknut or a Wolverine, let's just be thankful that we live in America and that this is something we get to enjoy. There's a lot of countries that just don't get to do these kinds of things. Life is hard. I'm a truck driver. I'm almost never at home, and I've got 3 kids. But it could be a lot worse. And this is just something fun for me and fun for everybody. So let's just enjoy what's going on. Enjoy the week no matter how it turns out. And just God bless, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here, man. Thank you.
Take care, man. Bye.
You too. Sometimes I click the wrong statement and comment from the screen. And the reason I do that is because as soon as I click it, the thing moves like 3 comments. So anyway, that's why at times it's like, why would he put that on the screen? That's the reason why. But I was intending on putting up Ferris's comment right there about TreVeyon Henderson needs to have a big game. We've got the Old Oaken Bucket coming up on Saturday, and we got Michael Hogue on the line. Michael, how you doing today?
Good. Yourself, Mark?
I'm doing just fine. What's going on?
Oh, sorry about that. I'm actually quadruple dipping on both Facebook and on TV right now.
Wow, quadruple dipping. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds a little messy.
One of the things I was watching just came to him. I'm actually listening to Jeffrey on the stream. He's doing the Purdue Gonzaga game, which I'm watching on the Fire Stick right now. So I'm kind of now just triple dipping.
Okay.
Can I ask you this?
Purdue's playing at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's the Maui Invitation.
One of these. Yeah. I used to be aware of all that. Yeah, it is.
You speaking of that, I know you didn't. I know you love football better than basketball, but did you ever get to go to any of these early season tournaments before?
No, I never went to any of them.
Oh wow! I figured you might have got to when you was down in Mississippi.
No.
Anyway, I was just trying to figure out. I know it's like the 100. I know it's like the 65th rated game you're going to want to watch Saturday. But what do you think some of the keys might be for both Purdue and IU? And is this potentially Tom Crean's last game at IU and TJ Flank's last game against Bucky Badger?
Well, I think you're mixing up your sports. I heard you say Tom Crean there.
I mean, Tom, I was sorry.
But yes, I know. Oh wow. Analysis on Indiana and Purdue. When is the last time I watched either one of them play? I saw Purdue against Ohio State, I guess would have been the last time. I saw some of the Michigan game.
The time before that, he's probably when Drew Brees was at Purdue.
Yes, that's the last time I was watching Purdue. Yes. Indiana, the last time I watched. I wasn't talking about the last time I watched an Old Oaken Bucket game. I was talking about watching them this year.
Yeah.
And then I saw Indiana play Ohio State and Penn State. I saw the Penn State game. They looked really good. If I'm Purdue, now I did not see this quarterback that played last week in replace of Hudson Card. What's his name?
Which one, Meredith or
whoever played?
You're gonna make me go look.
The one that played most of the game. Anyway, I'm understanding that Hudson Card is not definitely out this week, so he could come back and play.
Yeah, it was a rib injury for Hudson Card. So
yeah, those are tough.
Yeah, not bad.
If I am Purdue, boy, I'm going to ride those 2 running backs, or maybe there's 3 of them now. I'm going to ride those guys.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering stuff like that. I'm trying.
I really don't know who's the better team. I got to think that the line is almost 0.
I think it's Purdue by 3.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Are they at home?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go. Vegas is telling us it's a toss-up.
Oh, is it? Because what I seen the other day, I think it was like a 3-point spread.
Well, anyway. No. I'm saying that it's generally believed that Vegas gives 3 points to the home team, meaning they believe that these two teams are identical.
Yeah, the other quarterback I was referring to was Ryan Brown, who was a freshman.
Yes, that's the name.
Yeah, but over under the number of times Purdue gets inside the 5-yard line, and Graham Harrell decides to go shotgun. The number is 5. You going over or you going under?
I'm going to say that they're going over that because they're going to get inside the 5 a number of times and continue to get stuffed. So I'm going to say
Probably
more than
will.
5.
But on the other question I asked you, PJ Fleck, Tom Allen, is this their last game at their schools?
Well, if it's PJ Fleck's last game, I got to think it's because he's found a better job. If it's Tom Allen, I believe it's because he got fired. And it's time for Tom Allen to get fired. He's done. Indiana is serious about football, they need to fire Tom Allen.
Okay. Now, what about Friday afternoon? Is it in Iowa City or is it in Lincoln?
Lincoln.
So is this and Erica, this is music there. Is this Kirk Ferentz's last Big Ten conference game? Regular season conference
Well, I
game?
hope not. But yeah, he's lost his son off the staff, and he's going to a new Big Ten that's going to be more difficult to win games. And they accomplished what they needed to get to a Big Ten championship game, which is going to be extremely difficult to do going forward.
Oh, and yeah, whoever plays Iowa is going to win it 3-2 at a walk-up field goal.
We should all hold a raffle right now in terms of when is Iowa going to get back to a Big Ten championship game, because they're going to have to get through Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, Washington, Oregon, Wisconsin. Wow.
Yeah, true. Let's just say some of those teams won't be as good next year.
Well, they're going to have to be a lot less good.
Yeah. Well, see, no, I was just trying to figure it out and stuff like that. No, but do you see any other surprises happening this weekend with rivalry week in the Big Ten?
Oh, rivalry weekend. What could we have? Let's see. Let's look at it. Surprises. Well, Nebraska could beat Iowa. They beat them last year when Iowa had to win. And now that Iowa doesn't have to win that game, and I know that they're still going to be up for the game and still going to give it their best. They want to go 10-2 and not limp into the Big Ten championship game. There's really not upsets out there. Who would be an upset?
Nebraska wins. Are they bowl eligible?
The only upset would be Penn State and Michigan State is the only large discrepancy between teams. The rest of these games are all toss-ups.
Nebraska bowl eligible yet?
No.
So if they win, or they're not going to the bowl this year?
No, they have to win to get to a bowl game.
Okay. So no, because I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, that they said there might be some 5 and 7 teams that might get to go to bowl games this year.
Sure.
How? Well, I would think there'd be a lot, because I think there's 40 different bowl games excluding the playoffs.
So you realize that there have been 5 and 7 teams make bowl games before, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's because they don't have enough bowl slots, or they have too many bowl slots for the number of teams that qualify.
Mm-hmm. And with the new expansion with CFP, is that going to – oh, that's going to be an offensive. Okay. Sorry. Wrong sport. I just see an offensive foul. That's my basketball officiating me. But do you think some of the bowl games are going to be going away now with the expansion of the CFP?
No.
How will that work, though, starting next year?
How's it going to work?
No, I mean, as far as how are they going to figure out to determine matchups and stuff like that? This conference versus Y conference.
It's going to work just like it does now. There's just more teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, with normally you would have the 4, but with the expansion of the 8 extra teams, that's normally going to bowl games. How are you going to figure out the conference affiliations and stuff like that?
The same way you do now. I'm not understanding your question. It's just an expanded playoff.
Okay, so basically there's not going to be no because I didn't know if some of if the group of 5, some of the group of 5 teams get in there. somehow.
Let's say the Citrus Bowl is the first bowl and the highest ranked bowl for the Big Ten and the SEC that is not a playoff game. Well,
That's like
the
go ahead.
highest the highest seeded Big Ten team and SEC team that did not make the playoff will be in the Citrus Bowl.
Mhm.
Well, and of course, you got to consider that the Citrus Bowl and all bowls have a certain leeway to make selections based on what they want.
Okay.
But
I wasn't sure.
it's going to proceed just like it does now.
All right. I didn't know how it's going to work. And right now, who's the G5 team that's going to get to New Year's 6?
As it stands right now, I believe that's going to be Tulane.
Okay. And what bowl would that be? Would that be the Cotton or the sure? I'm not sure how the rotation for the bowls is going to be for the CFP and the New Year's 6 this year.
Yeah, I don't either. I have to look that up. That's not something I really look into, care about, anything. You know, they're all just, I don't know what to tell you. They're just bowl games. They don't really matter anymore in terms of their playoff. Okay, the playoff games are playoff games. I know that they've got the name of a bowl game on them, but they're not bowl games. They're playoff games.
Yeah. So some of the games next year. Oh, no, I'm kind of confused on how it's going to work. So the top 4 teams gets the first round buys, right?
The top 4 conference champions. Yes.
Okay. And then the other 4 games and stuff like that, are those going to be like the bowl games, or are those going to be like in the home stadium of the higher seed?
They're going to be home games.
Okay.
Now, whether they call those bowl games, it would be kind of stupid if they did. So, yeah, those are just going to be, let's say the 4 conference champions are 1 through 4. Those are the seeds that receive the bye. And let's say the 5th seed is the SEC runner-up, and it's Alabama.
Okay.
And they're going to play the number 12 seed. Let's say that's the group of 5 team. Let's say that's Air Force. Well, they're going to play in Tuscaloosa, the 5-12 game. Alabama is going to host Air Force.
All right. So, and then, like I said, okay, I was just trying to figure out because can only imagine what's going to happen this year if you have 5 teams is actually still, well, you can because whoever's going to lose Saturday between Ohio State and you're going to have one last, so you can still have 4 undefeated conference champions. Right?
Run that by me again.
Regardless of who wins Saturday between Michigan and Ohio State.
Yes.
You could have 4 undefeated teams that are going to be playing in the conference championship. And most likely, well, I can't really say win, but I give them a great chance. But how are they going to figure that out next year if, like, the ACC, the Big 12, well, no, because the Pac-12, so there could only be 4 undefeated champions.
Yes.
And stuff like that. But how are they going to figure that out? As far as, like, the conference affiliate or the Pac-12 is, like, pretty much flatlined.
There's not going to be a Pac-12.
Okay.
So there's 4 conference champions, and those 4 are going to occupy the first 4 seeds and receive buys.
Okay. So where do you see Oregon State and Washington State going next year? I'm thinking Mountain West.
Well, I think the Mountain West, too. That would be my guess, because had they been wanted by the Big 12 or the ACC, that would have already happened.
Mm-hmm. This is one and stuff like that. All right. I won't take you long because I know you're multitasking, because I know you probably are, got stuff cooking in the oven back in the background for Thursday and stuff. So just want to take care. But anyway,
I'm doing no multitasking right now. I'm just sitting here talking, and I'm looking at bowl affiliations. That's what I'm looking at.
But anyway, hey, Mark, thanks for another great season of college football. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend, man.
Thank you, Michael.
Are you coming to Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship?
You know, I didn't even think about that, but no, we will take in all the games right here. Okay. That didn't even cross my mind. That's a good idea, though.
I was wondering because I wanted to get a chance to redeem myself for not being able to meet up this summer with you. I did promise you that, though, but I want to get a chance to redeem myself.
That's quite all right, Michael.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.
We'll make it happen someday. All righty.
See you.
Okay. Mike is asking, how in the hell is Nebraska favored? Mike, you've been watching football for a long time. Come on now. This is almost the same situation. Actually, Nebraska was worse last year, and they were playing on the road. Think about this. Last year, Nebraska was not 5-6. They were 3-8. And Iowa had the incentive of having to win the division. The game was in Iowa City, and Nebraska was the favorite. So, yes, Nebraska is the favorite. Nebraska is the favorite because Vegas believes that they're a better team, ever so slightly. Well, not necessarily the better team, but that it's pretty much a toss-up and they're playing at home. But think about that. Nebraska was worse last year. Iowa was playing at home with the incentive of having to win, and Nebraska was the favorite. So, of course, they're the favorite. I can't say I necessarily agree with that, but that's what it is. I've got a lot more trust in Iowa, but Vegas seems to know what it's doing. Just look at this past weekend. You had Louisville 9-1 and Miami at 6-4, and Louisville was the underdog in that game. Yes. Vegas does not care about our perceptions about who's better or the records. All right. Cole's on the line. Cole, what's going on tonight?
What's up?
Not too much. How are you?
Oh, just doing some homework here at
Got
Nebraska.
to win on Friday, right?
What was that?
I said you got to win on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see. Nebraska. I was not wanting Nebraska to be in this position, but here we are once again, and our fate is in Iowa's hands, which is never good. But
your fate is in your hands.
Yeah, it's in our hands, but Iowa's the one that we're gonna have to play, and that game's always close, and it always comes down to a couple plays. But what do you think? What's your thoughts on the game?
Well, I just made the statement before you popped on that I have a lot of faith in Iowa. If Iowa's motivated, and they're not the type team that would not be motivated, I don't think that they've got the type program that goes into a game like that thinking, all right, well, we got nothing to play for, and we're too good for this, and we'd rather be at home. They don't seem to have that type of mentality in them. So I think we're going to get the full Iowa motivation. But when it comes right down to it, Vegas is telling us what they think of the game and what the talent level of the two teams is. And we already know that it's very close and it's in Lincoln, which for as great as of a home field advantage as that should be and used to be, it's obviously not one now. But I just trust Iowa so much more than I trust Nebraska. Like, when does Nebraska not lose the turnover battle? And when does Iowa not win the turnover battle? And in a game like we're going to see on Friday, which is going to be 16-13, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the matchups. This game is the matchup with Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska and Iowa are very similar this year.
Yes.
Really good defense. Offenses are poor. I do think Nebraska has quite a bit better offense. I don't know quite a bit, but
yeah, statistically they do. You're right.
Last game against Wisconsin, Chubba Purdy played his first game at quarterback this season, and he looked really good, actually. He's definitely not the reason why we lost the game. Our defense really struggled with Mordecai's mobility, and we don't have to worry about that with Iowa's D tackle playing quarterback. But anyways, Nebraska's defense and Iowa's defense are completely different schematically, but statistically they're about the same. So it'll be interesting to see how Iowa does against Nebraska's defense.
Cole, do you see that schematically because Nebraska can run from the quarterback position and Iowa's got a statue back there?
Yeah,
That
I
was
was saying different schematically on the defensive side
oh,
because
defensive side. Okay,
Iowa plays a 3-4 and they don't
Gotcha.
blitz. Meanwhile, Nebraska's defense is a 3-3-5 and they blitz constantly. So it's a very unique scheme. Tony White is a great defensive coordinator. He's a great hire. Was a nominee for the Broyles Award. He didn't make the final cut, but he's on the list for a bunch of head coaching jobs. So he's been a really good addition. I think he's going to make Deacon Hill's life miserable, which I think will play in Nebraska's favor. But I really think it's going to come down to if Nebraska can make their field goals and be able to flip the field, because our punter has been off and on. One game he's good. Next game he'll do a 15-yard punt like he did against Wisconsin. And if he's not hitting this game, Nebraska won't win, because they're not going to be able to flip the field and get field goals, because it's going to be really hard to score in Iowa. Everybody knows that. But everybody who says Iowa's going to score a lot of points they have not watched Nebraska's defense.
no,
It's very
or
it's
Nebraska
chaos.
or Iowa's offense. They have not watched anything basically.
Yeah. Nebraska's defense schematically is chaos. They blitz almost every single play. I know last year Iowa's offensive line struggled really bad in that game. There's many times where Nebraska just had clean shots on, Petrus or PD at that time. But yeah, I feel like if Nebraska can do that and force a couple turnovers out of Deacon, we can be right in the game and win the game. I think that's how they're going to have to win it, is force Deacon into making mistakes, which I think they can do. I watched some of the Iowa game against Illinois. He played a decent game, but there's many passes that were very risky, I'd say. Like the first pass of the game could have been an interception easily, but I know, like Conundrum just said, Deacon can take a hit. Yeah, he's like 280 pounds, so it'll be tough to bring him down, but it's all going to come down to if Nebraska can get pressure on the quarterback.
That's what you think this game's going to come down to? Like, I think that's important, but I think it's less important in this game.
It's going to come down to getting pressure on him and forcing him to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I know he likes to throw 10 feet over his receivers' heads. So if we can force him to do that and get some picks, that's how I see Nebraska winning the game.
Yeah, the week before against Rutgers, Iowa, the last 2 weeks with Deacon Hill has completely gone against its just DNA with a lead at the end of the first half, where they have driven the ball downfield and tried to take advantage of the clock and a possession to try to score points. And it didn't work out either week. Although against Rutgers, Deacon Hill drove him right down the field. He completed about 5 passes in a row, and then he threw a pick in the red zone. But yeah, he's more susceptible to turnovers. Well, they're both susceptible. Nebraska, they threw 4 picks in 20 pass attempts against Maryland
with different quarterbacks. Purdy was
incredibly horrible.
But
yes, 3 different.
Purdy did a really good job against Wisconsin. He made really good throws. No, his only interception was the last play of the game, and that was just a Hail Mary, hope for the best type of thing. So if he can play a game like that again, I think Nebraska will win. Mike Fort said, surprised he didn't bring up a lack of DeJean. Yeah, everybody thinks that's why Nebraska won last year, and he's out again this year, unfortunately. I mean, he's a fun player to watch. He's a game changer, but Nebraska was out a lot of players last year too, but that never gets brought up. I think Nebraska obviously doesn't have Trey Palmer this year on offense, so that's going to be a big difference from last year's game. But DeJean scared me more in the punt return game than defense, because his punt returns are electric. I mean, he's probably the best punt returner in the league, so I feel like that helps Nebraska a lot. You probably agree.
Oh, absolutely. That helps him a ton. And you know what else is kind of an underrated portion of his game that they miss? Last week, they could have downed 2 or 3 punts inside the 5. And he's usually the first one down as the gunner to do that. And their special teams just blew it. Their coverage guys just blew it. They lost track of the ball. They didn't find it. Even when it was rolling on the ground in front of them at the 2-yard line, they allowed it to go into the end zone. So he was great at that. Like, he would track the ball over his head, and just because he's a great athlete and he's that type of player. But the guys that they've got doing it now, at least in that game, didn't do it as anywhere close to as well as he does.
Yeah, I know Iowa's dealt with some injuries on offense. Their 2 tight ends, Cade McNamara, obviously, but who's really been hit by the injury thing is Nebraska's offense. They're down 8 of their original 11 starters they had in the Minnesota game. All 3 receivers that were projected to start are out. One decided he didn't want to play football anymore, Xavier Betts. Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda, who was the starting receiver, tore his ACL. Marcus Washington tore his ACL. Eric Gilbert was supposed to play, decided to rob a vape shop for some reason, so he's not on the team anymore. He was projected to be a starting tight end with Fedoni. Nebraska's also down their top 2 running backs that were supposed to be good, Ramir Johnson and Gabe Irvin. So they're on their – they have a true freshman running back start. Oh, he's a redshirt freshman starting, Emmett Johnson, who's actually been doing really well. And then Anthony Grant, who's had troubles holding on to the balls, but the last couple games he seems to have held on to it, have good ball security. So Nebraska's running game is, I don't know if it's still first in the Big Ten. I'm sure it's top 3 at least, but our rushing offense is pretty good, but we definitely haven't played a defense as good as Iowa's. So we'll see how effective it is this game. And I don't know if Iowa's played mobile quarterbacks and how they've done, but the quarterback run game is a big piece of Nebraska's offense. I don't know. Do you know? Have they played
mobile quarterbacks? Well, Gavin Wimsatt is mobile, but he's not like a run first guy for Rutgers. He's definitely looking to pass. Other than that, let's see. Rutgers, Michigan State, no. Northwestern, no. Minnesota, no. Wisconsin, no. Can't think of any mobile quarterbacks that they've played outside of Wimsatt would be the most. Penn State, no. Yeah, they've had it easy when it comes to mobile quarterbacks.
So I feel like that could be playing Nebraska's favor, because I remember in 2021, the Logan Smothers game against Iowa, he tore it up pretty good against them. Obviously, we didn't win, but he played a really good game, and they seemed to struggle with his mobility. So, and Chubba Purdy's faster than he thinks, faster than I thought he was, especially in the Wisconsin game. He's running around like crazy. So if he can hold on to the ball, break off a few big runs, I think Nebraska can win. And I saw today at one point they were favored. I don't think Nebraska should be favored, but it seems like they always are in this game for some reason, no matter what our record is.
Yeah, Mike Fort was asking about that in the chat, and I totally get it when he said, that's crazy. Is Vegas crazy? I said, well, look at last year. Nebraska was on the road. Iowa had to win. Nebraska was 2 games worse in the standings. They were a 3-8 team, and they were a favorite by like a point, but they were still
and nobody, including myself, thought Nebraska had a chance in that game. And
I didn't either. I did not either. Now, this is, I don't need to tell you, you could probably explain better to me that this program could, really use this win.
Oh, it is just for Nebraska to make a bowl game. I mean, all of Nebraska's opponents this year with their bowl game streaks have had 90 more practices per team than Nebraska has had with all their bowl practices lined up. Just the practices alone would help the development of the program. And Rule talked about it today. Those practices are so important for the young players to be developed, and Rule's a developer and he needs those practices. So I feel like Nebraska's got to pull out every single trick play in the book against Iowa. I mean, they're desperate at this point. There's no doubt about it. They need to make a bowl game in order for Rule to show progress with this program. I think he has made progress, but a bowl game would really help the skid that they've been on these last 3 games.
Definitely. I don't know. Again, I can't really separate these teams in a lot of ways, except another thing is you mentioned how you're hoping Nebraska is going to hit on field goals. Well, Iowa's got a really good one in Drew Stevens. Now, he did miss from 53 last week, but he's dependable. The punter's great. He's the best in the country.
Yeah.
I have a lot more faith in Iowa just doing the right things that they need to do to win the game. Now, when I say my confidence is high, that doesn't mean I think it's going to be a blowout, because
No, it's not going to be a blowout either way.
I don't see anybody blowing anybody out. Yeah.
It'll go into, I think it's going to come down to who scores first, honestly. First 1 to 10 probably wins, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I could see it being 0-0 at halftime easily.
Yeah. Well, Iowa's had quite a few of those. Not 0-0, but close to it.
Yeah. Nebraska has a good field goal kicker too. I mean, he has a huge leg. He can hit from 60, but he's struggled with accuracy. So he missed one last week against Wisconsin. That was like a 48-yarder, I think, but he didn't make the one at the end to send it into overtime. But yeah, Nebraska is one of the hardest stadiums to kick field goals in, I've read. So it'll be interesting. And it's not supposed to be pretty weather day either. It's supposed to be 30 degrees and snowing on Friday. So see how that plays into the kicking game.
Yeah, it's going to be a little frosty this weekend in the Midwest.
Don't say frosty, Mark. You know better than that.
Yes. It's a little Freudian slip there.
Yeah, you messed that one up. All right, well.
Yeah, you guys are way past him. So
Yeah,
even if
he's
you
not.
lose on Friday, bigger, better things. This team's so much, they're still in a sense doing some things that are reminiscent of that tenure, but things are slowly getting better. I can see it.
It's just to the point, like I've sent you messages on Twitter before, like Nebraska's cursed because like I've said it this way, Nebraska's not a bad football team. They're just a stupid football team. That's the best way I can describe it. Because if they were bad, they'd get blown out. They don't get blown out. They play everybody close except Michigan this year. But even years past against Michigan, they've played right with them. It's just they're stupid. They make critical errors. They can't handle pressure. It's one thing that Rule has talked about, getting them to tame the bear in their head. The bear in their head is the pressure that Nebraska puts on its team. Nebraska's a fishbowl. Everybody knows that. At least in Iowa, they have Iowa and Iowa State, so it kind of splits things up. Nebraska, it's you. You're the Nebraska football players. Everything is on you. So that's what this program needs to overcome. And Matt Rule's a good talker, so hopefully Friday we can take a huge step in the positive direction with this program. And I think Matt Rule is the guy for the job. If he doesn't go to Texas A&M, which has been pulled out of nowhere, I've seen on Twitter that Texas A&M is reaching out to Rule, but that's not going to happen. Although I do think he would do good there, but
sure he would. For some reason, I don't think they're going to go in that direction or try it. I don't believe.
Rule said today that he had a search firm call him asking about Tony White. So I wonder which school that was. I'm guessing either Syracuse or San Diego State, because he coached at San Diego State in the past, and he was also at Syracuse last year. So
yep,
it'll be interesting if we can hold him. If he sticks around, he's probably going to be a $2 million coordinator, if I had to guess. Satterfield makes more than him right now, which is just pathetic. But Satterfield has been under a lot of heat just because I'm not in – everyone's saying fire Satterfield. I'm not in that – Nebraska's had 5 coordinators in 5 years, so I'm not in the mood of just keeping firing coordinators, bringing new ones in, firing and bringing new ones in. When you have 4 true freshmen starting on offense, it's not going to look pretty all the time. So it's a completely different scheme than Iowa saw last year. It's run first. It's big personnel. It's tight personnel. It's 22 personnel, fullback, 2 tight ends. It's nothing like last year where they just spread Iowa out and hit deep bombs. It's nothing like that. So we'll see if they can get a run game going. I know Iowa's D-line is really good, and it'll just come down to forcing Deacon Hill into mistakes, I think.
Very good.
Thanks, Mark.
And it's an over-under of 27.5.
I thought it was 26.5. I saw 26.5 today.
Okay, maybe it dropped.
Which is another record, of course, for Iowa, but
Amazing.
I would.
Cool.
I'm not a betting man, and this isn't a betting show, but hammer the under. Everybody, just hammer the under. I promise. See you later.
You would think that these over under lines would get so low that it would be the better play to take the over. But yes, Cole says hammer the under. That's what it's been all season for Iowa. Aside from the Michigan State game, which they needed a Cooper DeJean punt return in the fourth quarter to take that over, it wasn't the offense that did it. They have consistently, this run of games for Iowa, let's see, 15-13 last week against Illinois, so 28 total points against Illinois, 10-7 against Northwestern, there's 17, 12-10 against Minnesota, there's 22, 15-6 game against Wisconsin, 21. And again, they were under with a 16-13. Yeah, I believe it was 16-13. They trailed. Was that the score? 16-13 against Michigan State with about 5 minutes left. And then Cooper DeJean brought back the touchdown, and that over-under was a lofty like 38, something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. But Iowa has produced 400 yards of total offense 2 weeks ago against Rutgers and 200 yards in the passing game the last 2 weeks. The winner, or I shouldn't say the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, of course, plays Iowa. So Iowa is in the clubhouse. Unbelievably. So those two get together on CBS, as you see on the board there, noon Eastern time. That's 11 a.m. Central time at Nebraska. Huskers need to win it to get to 6-6 to get to their first bowl game since 2016 when they played Tennessee in the Music City Bowl. Iowa's already going to Indianapolis. Of course, they want to go there at 10-2 and not 9-3. And the Big Ten Eastern Division winner, Ohio State or Michigan, they both want Iowa to win to give them as good a record as possible and keep them close. What were they last week? Well, they were 16 last week in the rankings. They might move up after the Illinois game. Maybe, maybe not. They'll probably stay right close to that range, depending on, I can't think of who won or lost around them. But certainly 15-13 over Illinois is not going to wow the committee. So Iowa's going to be still in that range. Now, if they beat Nebraska and they're going to be some more movement in front of them, they could enter the Big Ten championship game, maybe more like 12 or 13 in the rankings. Now, if they lose and drop to 9-3, they could be 20th, 21st, 22nd, losing to a pretty marginal Nebraska team. Penn State and Michigan State get together, and this is another Penn State season where all hope was lost because they lost the two most important games of the year, and they're playing out the streak to get to another 10-2 season. So Penn State under James Franklin since 2016, think about these regular seasons. James Franklin has gone 10-2 in 2016, 2017, 2019, 2021, 2022. And now it'd be, I'm sorry, not 21, 2022 I meant, and 23. So Penn State avoids the upset. This will be a 17, 19, 22, 23. This will be a fourth, make it a fifth 10-2 season since 2016 for James Franklin. 5 10-2 seasons in 8 years. The other two were 9-3 and 7-5, and then the COVID year, which they couldn't go 10-2 anyway. This hit me today as well. Think about this. the last time Ohio State did not win 11 games, which they, of course, already have, so it doesn't matter what they do against Michigan. They've already won 11 games. Ohio State's won 11 games, and almost every time in the regular season, won 11 games every year since 2012. And the only reason they didn't in 2011, of course, that was the Luke Fickell year between Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer. Ohio State went 12-1 in 2010. They went 11-2 in 2009. The last time Ohio State has not won 11 games other than that season with no head coach, no permanent head coach, 2008. And, of course, nobody can say that in college football. Buckshot Kid, if Illinois, Minnesota, and Nebraska win, that makes 11 bowl-eligible teams. So the Big Ten has affiliations with 7 bowls, not including the CFP. What happens with the other teams? Good question. I was looking at bowl qualifications right here and bowl affiliations. Why don't we pull that up on the screen? So the ACC, the American, the Big Ten. Is that for this season, though? Let's make sure. This says 23-24. Yeah, there we go. Big Ten champion usually automatically goes to the Rose Bowl if not selected for the college football playoffs, but not this season since the Rose is part of the playoffs. The Big Ten gets a team into one of the 6 New Year's Bowls. Okay, the Big Ten alternates with the SEC between the Las Vegas 23 and 25 and the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That's new. This year, the Big Ten is expected to go to the Las Vegas Bowl. Well, according to your little article here, College Football News, you're telling us that. It says 2023. This is the expected Big Ten bowl pecking order. There will be more eligible Big Ten teams than set spots, so expect them to take up a few ESPN-owned and operated bowl games. That's your answer right there. So let's say, I don't know, not being biased, but Ohio State beats Michigan, and they go to the playoff. And then our number 2 seed would be Michigan. And I guess they're going to be in the Orange Bowl. Looks like Michigan in the orange. And then next up is the Citrus Bowl against the SEC, and that would be Penn State goes to the Citrus. And then your next team would be Iowa. They would go to the ReliaQuest Bowl. So Iowa's reward for going to the Big Ten Championship game is going to the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa against the SEC. And then we've got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which would be who's next after Iowa? Probably the winner of the Rutgers-Maryland game. They're both 6-5. Wisconsin 6-5. So that's going to be up to the Duke's Mayo Bowl to determine who they want out of those 3. You know who they'll want? I would think Wisconsin, because they will travel. and they'll get a better TV rating. So let's say Wisconsin beats Minnesota. They will go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. And then we've got the Music City Bowl, which would go next to the winner of the Rutgers-Maryland game. And I don't know, is Maryland playing better football right now? We'll give them the win. And they go to the Music City. And then Rutgers would go to the Pinstripe Bowl. They'd stay at home, go to the Pinstripe Bowl. And then we've got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl against the Big 10 or the Big 12. And there, obviously, their pecking order here, they've got a typo because they've got the Pinstripe Bowl against the Big 10. That would be against the ACC. So then after the Pinstripe, then it all depends on, okay, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the winner goes to a bowl game, the loser does not. We've still got Northwestern. We still have Northwestern. We still have Nebraska. If they win, we still have Illinois. If they win. So let's say the Big Ten gets as many bowl teams as possible. And that would include Nebraska, Illinois, and Northwestern. Well, Nebraska is by far the team that would be selected by a bowl because Nebraska fans want to go to a bowl game and because they've got a much larger fan base and more dedicated fan base. So let's say Nebraska goes to the Pinstripe, and then we've got Rutgers going to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Then I believe we still have the Quick Lane Bowl for whoever's left there. I guess that would be Northwestern. But if Illinois wins, then they're going to a bowl game, so they've got to be accommodated as well. So a lot of bowl game interesting bowl slots there. Then let's see if Michigan's going to the Orange Bowl to play the top seeded team out of the ACC. Once Florida State goes, I guess it's going to be Michigan-Louisville in the Orange Bowl. Then we'd have a Penn State Citrus Bowl against the SEC, and probably once Georgia, let's say, goes to the playoff, and if Alabama goes to a New Year's Six game, then it's going to be Penn State and, let's say, LSU. Then we've got Iowa taking on an SEC team in the ReliaQuest, and that would be the next team in order. That could be Mizzou, let's say, Iowa, Missouri. And then that Duke's Mayo Bowl is a ACC matchup against Wisconsin. So by the time we get down to that rung, it's probably going to be Wisconsin and like an NC State, or it could be all sorts of teams in the ACC. Their pecking order will probably be Florida State, Louisville, NC State, could finish 9-3, or North Carolina. The winner of that game will be next. Mike Ford says, oh no, not Iowa, Mizzou. Why not? That'd be a good game. Conundrum says Iowa and Ole Miss in the Citrus. I guess Penn State could get snatched up into a New Year's Six. So that could happen, and then that would move up Iowa into the Citrus. Sure. And let's see. Yeah, let's give Wisconsin like an NC State game in the Mayo Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. And then actually, if we've got Nebraska going to a bowl game, I think that they would slide right by all these other teams because they are going to travel and they are going to get watched on TV, and Nebraska would get plucked up by the Music City Bowl and play, who could they play? They could play. Well, Florida's not going to win most likely this week. So they're going to play. Who are they going to play? Who's going to be left out of it? Maybe Texas A&M, maybe Nebraska, Texas A&M in the Music City. And then maybe we've got a Maryland Pinstripe Bowl game against, I don't know, Georgia Tech. Throw that out there. Guaranteed Rate Bowl of Rutgers. And let's see who goes to that game, the Big 12. By the time we get that deep into the selections from the Big 12, that could be like a Texas Tech game against Rutgers. And then the Quick Lane Bowl of Northwestern and what? Toledo? I don't know if the MAC champion go to that game. Florida could beat Florida State, sure, but both teams are missing their quarterbacks. And let's see what our latest bowl projections say compared to what I've got. And then we will run down some of the keys to the Ohio State-Michigan game. So looking at the Big Ten here, although I like that game, Liberty and Coastal Carolina. Okay, Big Ten matchups. There is an incoming matchup there, an incoming Big Ten team going to the Los Angeles Bowl, UCLA. And think of this, folks. A little over a month from now, once we get past the national championship game, really once we get past the New Year's 6 games and all the bowl games, this Big Ten show is going to be wide open for USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. Yep. A lot of USC, UCLA talk on here, and Oregon, Washington. Yep. Okay. Gasparilla Bowl with UCF and USF. I'm all in on that one. There is, there is the Armed Forces Bowl, and there's a projected matchup with Minnesota going to that game. So they believe that Minnesota is going to defeat Wisconsin in the regular season finale to get bowl eligible. I'm not so sure about that. USC and Maryland, the future of the Big Ten right there in the Las Vegas Bowl. USC and Maryland. Okay. Our next Big Ten matchup, the Quick Lane Bowl with Illinois, who has to win. They're 5-6 right now. They've got to win the game unless we have some 5-win teams that get in. But that's Illinois and Ohio. The Bobcats are 9-3. We've got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl of Kansas and Northwestern. How do we all feel about that one? Kansas and Northwestern. Kansas seems like a better team. They seem like a much better team, really. Music City Bowl. Look at that. They've got the same exact matchup that I did. Or did I say the Duke's Mayo Bowl for Wisconsin? Regardless, Wisconsin, Texas A&M. I would watch that one. There's the pinstripe with Georgia Tech and Rutgers. Look at that. I had that one down. Then we've got, ooh, that's a good game. Clemson, Oregon State. the Pop-Tarts Bowl, NC State and Kansas State. Where's our next Big Ten matchup? There it is, Citrus Bowl. There you go, Mike. Iowa, Ole Miss. Could be fun. Peach Bowl, Penn State and Tulane. How will James Franklin figure out how to lose to Tulane? Actually, James Franklin has a great bowl record. James Franklin has won his last 3 New Year's Six games. And then we've got the projected matchup of Michigan-Louisville in the orange. That's what I put down here. Okay. And then the playoff game that they have here is Ohio State and Florida State. There it is. B-Bean, how you doing? Super chat coming in. Appreciate that. Blue Wolverine, thank you so much for that. What a setup to the game this year. You couldn't write a crazier storyline. You could not. This is the last of its kind with the expansion of the playoff. This could be part 1 of a 3-part series next year. And then with all the crazy allegations and cheating and supposed even greater cheating. Yeah, this is going to be, at least from a narrative standpoint, we don't know if the game's going to be any good. I would expect it will be, but who knows? It wasn't a great game last year or the year before. It was a competitive game. It was a good game. It wasn't like it was 35-0 at halftime or anything, but it was not down to the wire. Both games were over with about 4 to 5 minutes left. But yeah, I got to think that really none of the other TV networks are really putting up decent games to combat this game. They just are waving the white flag against this TV rating that drew 17.1 million viewers last year. I got to think that 20 million mark is going to be challenged this year. And then we also have David. Thank you so much for the contribution, sir. Mark, how much will the college football playoff look at the Travis injury, and could you see an undefeated Florida State team left out? Well, the committee has told us ever since the Ohio State situation in 2014, ever since that occurred, and JT Barrett was carted off the field against Michigan, that they would take major injuries into consideration. So, yes, they are talking about that. That is going to be under their consideration. So, Florida State wins. Let's look at the most likely scenario that would put a Florida State undefeated team in jeopardy. First thing would be them winning unimpressively. Let's say they beat Florida 20-17. The offense looks bad. They barely win. Florida's a 5-7 team. Then they defeat, let's say Louisville loses going into the ACC championship game. So Louisville is not a 1-loss team. They're a 2-loss team. And again, Florida State doesn't necessarily look like the better team, but they get fortunate and they eke out a win against Louisville. So they've come into the playoff selection with 2 marginal wins. On top of that, Alabama beats Georgia in a classic, great football game. Texas takes care of business. They're undefeated, or they're a conference champion with one loss, of course. And let's say Washington goes undefeated. So they're in. And whomever wins the Big Ten is undefeated. And they're in. So the 2 spots are gone. There are 2 spots that are completely gone. And so we're looking at Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, and Texas for 2 spots. Well, Alabama's won the conference championship, so they're going to be in. They will be in. And Texas, if they are impressive, if these other teams are extremely impressive, and the best possible matchup that Texas can have in a Big 12 championship would either be Oklahoma or Kansas State or Oklahoma State at 9-3. No, wait a minute. Oklahoma, if they win, they're going to be 10-2. So that is the best record that Texas can play. So that's the most impressive win that they can hope for. That is the scenario. Big Ten champion undefeated. Washington undefeated. Texas impressive over Oklahoma 10-2. And Alabama wins a classic nail biter over Georgia. So both teams look the part, 31-28. Yeah, Florida State could get left out. An undefeated Florida State team could get left out. Do I believe that I believe that it's against the odds, and I would not agree with it. But there can be justification for all those other teams. But that is the worst case scenario I can pull together to keep Florida State out as an undefeated team. That's the worst possible situation. I will be putting together a comparison video between Ohio State and Michigan. They've got 7 common opponents, and it's interesting to throw those 2 together. 7 common opponents for Ohio State and Michigan, all 5 teams in the Big Ten East, and they both played Minnesota and Purdue. And I've gone through all those numbers. We're talking rushing yards, passing yards against, rush defense, point totals, point differentials, 3rd and 4th down efficiency rates, sacks and tackles for loss against those teams, and what they have given up against those teams. So whether you think that's valid or not, comparison between Ohio State and Michigan. Then we will do the same the next weekend against Iowa. So the winner against Iowa and those common opponents comparison. So let's say that's Michigan. Iowa and Michigan both played Penn State, and they both played Rutgers, and they both played Michigan State, and they both played Minnesota and Purdue and Nebraska. So you've got those comparisons between Michigan and Iowa, and we will do that for all the conference championship games, which will most likely be in the clubhouse, Georgia and Alabama, Florida State and Louisville, Texas against Oklahoma State if they win over BYU. If they do not, if that's an upset, then there's a free-for-all with Oklahoma and Kansas State possibly getting into the Big 12 championship game. And, of course, those two teams, whomever they are, will have already played. If Oregon takes care of business this weekend, they will go to the Pac-12 championship game against Washington. Those two have already played. Alabama and Georgia, they both played Auburn and Ole Miss and Kentucky and Tennessee. So they've got 4 common opponents between those two. And then Florida State and Louisville, I'd have to run through the ACC and who they both played. But Louisville had an unprecedented, easy run to the ACC championship game, as they did not have to play Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina. Maybe the 3 best teams in the conference. Louisville did not play. Somebody in the ACC office signed off on Louisville not playing Clemson, Florida State, or North Carolina in conference play. And it worked. It worked for Jeff Brom and company, who I believe is the only Power 5 coach ever to coach consecutive conference championship games with 2 different teams in consecutive seasons. Let's ask the chat. What other Power 5 coaches have coached multiple teams to conference championship games? I can think of 1, 2. I listed this on Twitter. I thought of about 8. 1, 2. So coaches who have led multiple teams to conference championship games. Yes, Mike, obviously Brom. We've just talked about him. There you go, Urban Meyer. Mark Richt, well done. Lincoln Riley, well done. Yes, Biscuit. We already got Urban Meyer. Mac Brown. Wait a minute. Yes, Mac Brown last year. So we got Mac Brown. We got Urban Meyer. We've got Lincoln Riley. Anybody else? And Mark Richt. Yes, Jeff Brom. And I'm going to have to go to my tweet to see if I did not look anything up, of course. I don't like to look things up. I like to see if I can do it myself. Let's see. Did I think of anyone else? Because we've only had conference championship games since 1992 in the SEC. The SEC was the first. So let's see. Let's go to the Twitter board. And we will see where I posted this, if I can find it. And I believe I did this. I don't know. Shoot. Who else? There were a couple other ones, I believe. Oh, man, this is going to take me forever to find this. Anybody else that's done that? All right. Dave is here. Dave, what's going on tonight?
Hey, I was actually waiting for the other show. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I will
Very good.
I'll come back on that. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Maybe Darel is as well. Darel, you want to talk to me?
Yeah, I would like to talk to you.
Okay.
Anytime I get to speak to the voice of college football, that's always a good thing, Mark.
Very nice.
So I would like to make my prediction for a pretty big game coming up. You may have heard of it, called Ohio State versus Michigan.
I can't wait for this one.
So I think Ohio State has the best player on the team, on either team, in Marvin Harrison Jr. I think their offensive line is very improved from what it was at the beginning of the season. I think Ohio State's defense is the most improved unit from year over year. And Ohio State has continuity to where Michigan doesn't have it with their head coach being, out. But Mark, Ohio State is a soft football team.
Okay.
And I can't help that. It is a cultural thing. So until Ohio State proves to me they can stop Michigan's running game, I'm going with Michigan to win this game 21-20.
21-20. Heck of a game. All right. Well, Ohio State's soft, and the soft football team's going to lose 21-20 on the road at Michigan.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Man, they must be really talented to be able to keep it within 21-20 if they're that soft.
Well, they are really talented. If they just had a little bit more physicality to them, I think they could win the national championship. But, Ohio State has to make excuses about having players injured or has to talk about the weather. There might be snow flurries coming up in this game. And if there's a snow flurries, Michigan's basically won the game before they've even stepped off the bus.
Do the players actually talk about this?
I don't know, but Mark, it's a cultural thing. I believe it's a symbiotic relationship all the way up and down the totem pole. And if all you see on social media and stuff, if you're these 20-year-old players, is you're soft, you're horrible, and then you go out and you can barely beat a Notre Dame team with 10 people on the field, that's kind of soft.
Okay. Taking a shot at Ohio State, even though you've been telling me the entire season that Ohio State has a better chance of winning a national championship than Michigan.
Well, two things can be true at once, Mark.
Yes,
okay?
I'm not debating you. I'm just clarifying. Yes, you're right. They can be true. Yes.
Ohio State, I think, is built for the postseason. Michigan is built for the regular season. Michigan is built for the wear and tear of the regular season. Their backups are really good, whereas Ohio State is just kind of a finesse team. They've only got a few star players that are really elite. And then after those players go down, and I don't trust Kyle McCord. I really don't trust Kyle McCord. He's not that great of a quarterback. He's a slightly above average quarterback.
All right. Well, you've hurt my feelings tonight, Darel.
Well, if it's any consolation prize, I'm pretty sure you all will still make the college football playoffs, even with one loss.
Oh, I don't think so. No. I don't believe so. I think
there's going to be chaos. I could see, let me throw this out to you. Oregon State beats Oregon, and Oregon beats Washington.
Yep.
Louisville wins, or Florida State loses to Florida, and Florida State beats Louisville.
Whoa. Okay.
That's all you need.
What's going on with Alabama and Georgia?
Does it even matter?
Well, if Alabama wins, both of them will get in, I believe.
Right, and then Michigan would get in, and I think Ohio State would be the fourth team.
Well, we still have Texas. Yeah, you've got two lost champions in the ACC and the Pac-12, but the loser of Ohio State, Michigan wants Georgia to just secure a spot from the SEC and get rid of Alabama.
Correct, but I've got a weird feeling that it's going to be like 2021. I would not be shocked at all if Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. Alabama is probably the most improved team in all of college football. They look nothing like that game against South Florida, Mark.
Oh, I know it. To my not to my surprise, because I hung with them the whole time. And I have Alabama going to the national championship game.
Correct. I mean, credit to you for getting that right. Jalen Milroe, he
I
looks
didn't get
amazing.
anything right, but I had them in the SEC championship game, so I'll at least take credit for that.
Can I ask you? I know it's a Big
Yes.
Ten thing, but can Jalen Milroe win the Heisman? Is there an outside chance of that happening?
Oh yeah, he's going to be on that big stage against Georgia. Yes, and even against Auburn, for as bad as they are, he's going to have a big stage. He's got 2 enormous stages, and that SEC title game again is going to be all eyes on that game. Epic. You know, with Iowa showing up, sorry, Iowa fans, but with Iowa showing up at the Big Ten championship game, that takes that down a peg or 12. And the SEC title game is just a spectacle when those 2 teams play, especially.
Correct. So I'm just trying to hope it into existence and get my biases clouding me, but I'm really hoping for a Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama playoff, Mark. Can you imagine how exciting that playoff would be?
Yeah, there's some power brands there. It would be, and we would have quite the Big Ten SEC debate going. Yep.
Hello, John. How are you doing?
Darel, my mind is blown right. Is this some type of like Nick Saban-esque reverse psychology where you're trying to get, because that way if Ohio State wins, then Michigan's chances do go down to 1%? Because I'm just like dumbfounded right now.
Well, I try to be objective, as honest as I can. And Michigan is built for the regular season grind. Ohio State has shown over the last 2 years they are not built for the regular season grind. If this game was played in October, I would pick Ohio State. Not this year because of their quarterback, but if it was in most years, I would pick Ohio State. But the physicality and the style that Michigan plays, I think, is an advantage the further and further you go on in the regular season.
Wow.
Darel, you understand that your percentages, I'm not going to say that they're not possible, but they are a bit stretched, meaning if Michigan, you are predicting them to win this weekend, therefore they will be in the playoff, and you're giving them a 1% chance of winning a 4-team playoff.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're able to beat Alabama, Oregon, Washington, or Georgia.
Okay.
But Ohio State isn't one of those 4 teams they play this week. So
You don't think Michigan can beat Washington? I mean, their offense is good, but the others
I think they could beat Washington, but I think Washington's quarterback and wide receivers can torch Michigan's secondary. I'm not sold on Michigan's corners and safeties being good enough to cover any elite wide receiver room and quarterback duo yet.
I don't disagree, but then you also have to factor in that Washington will have to contend against a running quarterback, tight ends that are basically JJ throws to with almost 100% accuracy. And then the wide receivers, not so much, but Roman Wilson's pretty good. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, they're going to have to defend against all of that. So so both things can be true at the same time. But yeah, no, I mean, Oregon's going to be tough. Georgia's going to be tough. Alabama's going to be tough. We'll have to see how they shore things up in the next, if Michigan does make it past Ohio State, which it's a big if. I mean, these last 2 games haven't exactly filled me with the warm and fuzzies. But I do know that they've been prepping for Ohio State all year. They have, beat Ohio drills just like they have beat Georgia drills, and they've been doing it since the offseason. So I think there's a lot we haven't seen yet. So who knows?
Ironically, if Ohio State had last year's team, I would feel more confident about Ohio State winning than they do with this current team they've got.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think this is a good matchup for Michigan for what Ohio State has become.
Yeah, last year, I mean, look at what CJ Stroud is doing in the NFL right now. I mean, it's just absurd. Like he's taking that team to a championship contenders first year as a rookie.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. Although I respectfully disagree with both of you on that, but I totally get your point. I believe Ohio State's a better team this year. I believe they've got a better running game and a better defense.
Yeah, you're right. The running game is with a healthy Travion Henderson and Chip Trayanum.
But I totally get what you're saying. Totally
But yeah.
get it. Totally understand. Not saying it's crazy by any stretch. Yeah, CJ Stroud, they have not replaced him. No. All right, everyone. I am going to sign off. I'll be here on the USC channel, in fact, at 11 p.m. Eastern time with our Trojan Conquest live show. But I did want to make mention that since I did ask the question, there you see on the screen, those are the coaches who have coached in conference championship games for two teams. I don't believe anyone got Nick Saban or Steve Spurrier or Brian Kelly.
Oh,
Trick one with Brian Kelly. Notre Dame's one season in the ACC. Yes, there you go.
there it is. All righty,
John, take us home. Thank you for
Thanks,
everything
Mark.
you
See you
do.
at 11.
And again, everyone, catch John on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time on the Michigan channel for Wolverines Live.
There
Thanks,
it
John.
is. Thanks, Mark.
John, I'm going to head out and let you do your thing. Fight on and go blue.
Absolutely. Go blue. And a fight on, too. Wow. All right. Well, here we go with another episode of The Ocho here at the Voice of College Football. My name is John Diadamo, and I'm going to be taking you through the next hour or so. We're going to do a short show today because I happen to have two shows tomorrow. We have Michigan Wolverines live at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night with Tanner Wooten from Blue by 90. We're still working on an Ohio State guest. And then the Jacksonian is going to be the after party, which will be on Jackson Johnson's show channel at 9 p.m. or whenever the Michigan show ends. So before we bring on our all-star panel, just a quick reminder to hit the like button, subscribe to the Voice of College Football. Mark does this each and every day. The rest of us come on and are very happy to have a platform to run our mouths a little bit. But got to support Mark and everything he does. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and tell a friend that we're live right now. Put the link in your social media. Share it around on Facebook, on Twitter, on wherever you are. Because the more that we can bring people in, the more that we can make this thing happen. So without further ado, here we go with the Ocho. Bringing on, first and foremost, we got Jackson Johnson in the house. Hey, buddy.
What's up? What's up, Johnny? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. You ready for our no holds barred Michigan review tomorrow?
Oh, I'm getting ready. I got some notes and
it's gonna be
give
a
a
good
little
show.
preview. One part of the show, I'm going to be bringing up how Michigan football has an unlikely ally in one of the best comedians of our time, in Bill Burr.
Yeah.
So that's
I know
fun.
exactly what you're talking about. So I'm excited about that. All right, let's bring in. We got Minnesota Dave. Thanks for calling in
David.
early.
How's it going?
For the show. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I had a horrible birthday when it comes to sports.
Oh yeah. Oh
I went to the Gopher
Ohio.
Missouri game.
Yeah.
And this is the basketball game, and watched them blow a 20-point lead against Missouri with 9 minutes left in the basketball game. I'm telling you, man, the barn has seen better days.
Well,
I think it's time to get rid of the barn.
Well, we'll talk through the Golden Gophers in a bit. But we do also have, of course, a Michigan fan and a Buckeye, both here to talk the game in a little bit. We got Sean Garner, who I caught you mid gulp there, but welcome back to the Ocho.
I am just I'm still shaken by this news of Bill Burr sticking up for Michigan. I mean,
Yeah, well,
this
he
is
is a
this is. I mean, I'm about as big of a fan of his as there is, and yeah, I don't know what. I mean, my world is shaken.
Well, remember, him and Portnoy are Patriots fans, and they're Michigan fan. Well, I guess Portnoy's a Michigan fan. Bill Burr's just sticking up because they went through a certain scandal a few years ago, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
A couple of them, yeah. So
maybe.
All right.
There's a running theme.
What's that?
So I said there's a running theme with all these spying scandals, huh?
There you go.
Some
Patriots fans
Ann Arbor.
Wolverine fans are sticking together. All right. We also have Darth Fort in the house.
Oh crap! I forgot to change it from last night.
That's all right. Just keep it going all week. Why not? We got the game. Keep it.
I had to take out my Palpatine hoodie. Man, that got hot last night. Though, so
yeah, I know. I bet it does.
Oh man.
And last but certainly not least, we got Moose.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
loud
can
and clear.
you.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Cool.
John, I can't believe what I just seen.
Darel
has been ragging on Michigan all year, saying we got a 1% chance, and then he comes on the show and says, "I'm taking Michigan over Ohio State." No, you can't do that.
No,
that
was a goof.
He's both genius and cowardly here. Now he can basically say, however this game goes, that he had it right the whole time.
He was not serious. I mean, hell, I think even the technical odds, like even the Vegas odds of Cincinnati win the national championship when they made the Final Four was more than 1%. And keep in mind, if Michigan makes the playoff, they're at worst a 2. Michigan's not going to be a 3 or a 4 making the playoff. They're going to be a 2 or a 1.
I don't know how much that matters this year, but yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, if you're a 1 or a 2 and you're a 1%, it's mathematically a statistical impossibility. So
I'm gonna unleash the challenge to all Buckeyes in the chat right now. Come on in. We got space for another Buckeye or two. All right, so we can balance it out. I don't want anybody saying I'm stacking the panel.
Yeah, let's get it going.
I don't understand it. They hate the fact there's so many Michigan guys, but Ohio guys don't.
Hummus, Troy, get in here, man. Let's get it going. I want to get this going, man.
Hummus has called in before.
Green Show's always on these shows, just never the panel.
He always does. He only does the Mark shows though.
He likes to talk to Mark. So because we normally we have an Iowa person or somebody else, so I was going to do everybody else talks about their team first. But we'll start. We'll do Minnesota Dave on Minnesota, and then anybody wants to talk about any non-Michigan Ohio State games, and then we'll cover the game. So Minnesota Dave, what do you make of your Golden Gophers? The performance this season and what you think might be coming up in the future for the Golden Gophers.
Oh gosh. We right now, I don't know. I watched basically the half and that was it. I don't understand. This is the one thing I feel you guys were talking last week about PJ, the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat. I don't think he's on a hot seat, but he's on a warm seat. And the one thing I feel that, Minnesota fans are kind of torn now. They're kind of gotten to the point where, okay, how many years do we go on with this? Because you just can't go from a 11-2 team a couple of years back and keep on winning, 9-4, and being in our division, and being in our division and not be able to win a very easy division. And he wasn't able to do it when we had, this was the last time we had a chance to win the West, and we couldn't do it. I wasn't expecting us to do it, but there was a chance. I also don't understand. I think the biggest thing that I have right now is watching the Ohio State game, and this is when I really felt like I turned off the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
Is we're starting to drive down the field. We get to the Ohio State, I would say it was about inside the 45-yard line. We're inside the 45. And we decided to run, get stuffed, pass the ball to the tight end on a short pass for 5 yards, and on third down, run. And instead of going for it, like, okay, this is Ohio State. You're going to have to, you're not going to get great field position. Go for it. See what happens. No, we decided to punt. That's when I decided to, PJ is the way too conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, his attitude is all over the place, but his coaching is so conservative. And it's gotten to the point where, this is annoying. If you're not going to show up, why should I watch?
Well, so Athan Kalik Manis doesn't seem like he's the answer at quarterback, I think is part of it.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is when you have a head coach carousel like what's going to be happening this offseason, it's very possible Michigan's going to be looking for a coach. It's very possible that obviously we know Texas A&M with all of their money is looking for a coach. Michigan State's looking for a coach.
If you're listening to Steve Deese, Ohio State maybe looking
what's
for
going
a
on with
coach.
Jim's contract?
Wait, is Barnett not getting the interim tag stripped off?
They need to sign Jim.
Well, they want Urban Meyer. So,
oh God.
Well, I mean, they won. They beat Indiana by 3 this week. I mean, I don't know what more he has to do.
John, I got a screenshot of Urban Meyer's wife telling the MSU fans several times he's not coming out of retirement.
I
they still think he's going. They're delusional, man. They still think he's going there.
Shelley knows best.
Well, we do also have a friend of the program and Iowa Hawkeye fan, Erica Goldberg's in the house.
Hello.
Hey, Erica.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
What's up, Erica? Congrats on the West Division.
Hello,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it was good. It was good that we won. And contrary to some fans in the chat, we never crapped on anybody. We were accused of that a little bit ago. All we said going in was it's going to be a close game. And obviously an Iowa fan would say that an Iowa team would win and Illinois would say that they would win. So anyway, I'm not going to go more into that.
Wait, Illinois fans?
Yeah, they claimed Sonny, whatever his name is, the Illinois fan in the chat, claimed that Iowa fans crapped on everybody else because I made a comment that we've been crapped on all year long.
Yeah. Oh, so what you meant to say was Illinois.
Wait, Erica, Illinois has fans? I didn't know that.
Yeah, fan, single.
You said it, not me. You said it, not me.
Yeah.
I'll put this way, I live in Illinois, and they don't really. I mean, there's plenty of people who go to the university, but you don't really hear much about their football team. So anyway,
believe it or not, there were a decent amount of Illinois fans at the game, or at in Ann Arbor when I went to the Michigan-Illinois game. Very nice people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem. I just don't. I don't know. It's one of those things where we were accused of something, and it's like, come on, that's not factual. The only teams we crap on are Nebraska and Wisconsin.
Well, those are rivalries. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They're meant for crapping on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sonny Verna is go-to on Illinois football. Check him out.
Yeah, he's the one who told me that we crapped on him.
I'll say this: Iowa has
crap
two.
on them all you want, Erica. Crap on them all you want.
It's not really my style. That's okay. Whatever.
Well, it seemed like the big animosity this year was Penn State, because I've never seen a bunch of Penn State guys on Corey's channel saying that you guys were like laughing at their injuries or something.
No, what happened was this was the last time they played in Kinnick and we beat them. When Spencer Petrash was still our quarterback, by the way. And, we were having some drives where, we're not an upbeat offense, obviously, where we keep going and going and going up tempo or whatever. But, we were having some success driving the ball down the field. And every 5 seconds, their players were getting injured. And then they would go out for like a play or two and come back. Like, get out of here. Get the heck out of here. You're not injured. They'd act like they had like broken something. They'd be back 2 plays after that. Like, it's anyway. And Kirk Ferentz even said in his news presser after that, well, they smell a rat, meaning the fans can smell a rat because they were bullshitting.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to get like all passionate where I'm swearing.
Well, while we're on the topic, so what we're doing right now is anybody who isn't Ohio State or Michigan gives their take on your performance last week. Obviously, you just won the Big Ten West. So how do you think of, I had you guys obviously 11-1 winning the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going to be 10-2, 9-3 at the worst. So, what do you think? Despite the Brian Ferentz stuff going on, the defense and special teams seems to be good enough that you're winning the Big Ten West, beating Illinois. So what did you make of that game?
Of the game itself, it was I thought it was an enjoyable game to watch. And Deacon definitely, he's improved. I know it sounds nuts. I'm not saying he's a championship quarterback. Far from that, and we all recognize that. But he has improved in the last few weeks, and frankly, he's improved very quickly. He came into this when Cade got injured, and he had to come in to replace Cade during the one game and has played since. He hadn't played pretty much any football since high school. So I would say he did pretty well. He hasn't been at Iowa that long. He transferred in from Wisconsin. Yeah. And whatever they did, to get him in the zone, it partially worked because now it's a serviceable offense. And I want to see more still. I'm still not satisfied because everybody knows how, for us, it's kind of like a 9-win season is kind of typical Iowa football at this point. It's usually 7, 8, or 9 wins, sometimes 10. So I would like us to do better than that. I think that anybody who thinks less than that has a defeatist attitude, and I've talked about that before. So to me, this is kind of status quo, and I want to see better, and I'm hopeful that maybe we make a good offensive coordinator hire so that we can do that and get there. And it's all going to depend on who we hire and whether or not Kirk allows them to run their offense. That's how I see it. And as far as, the season in general, since I get the impression we're talking about that a little bit, I have to say I was disappointed, obviously, at the beginning because we were all very excited about Cade coming in and about the tight end duo we were going to have in Luke Lachey, Gall, and all of them got injured. That was kind of the story of our season, is injury after injury. About 2 weeks ago when we were playing, I think it was against Rutgers, we were down to our 4th tight end, which thank the Lord we have a deep tight end room because otherwise we would have been in a really bad way. And so in that regard, I feel like it's besides, the fact it's a typical Iowa team in the sense of how many wins, I also kind of feel proud of the team because we've had a lot of adversity this year. The whole Brian Ferentz thing, and then, with the gambling investigation where Noah Shannon bet $10 on a women's basketball game and he hasn't been able to play all season, which is, I think he definitely should have been punished, and I don't disagree with that. But for an entire season for $10, I think that's a little extreme.
Is he allowed to play in the championship game or the bowl game?
What was that?
Is he allowed to play in the championship game or the bowl game?
No.
He's not.
The Iowa Gambling Commission just ruled on this a couple weeks ago, and they upheld all the suspensions, basically, of all the athletes.
Yeah, it was mostly there were a few people down the depth chart, if I remember correctly, who we would not know any of them. So that's
Iowa State got hit much.
But it was
Iowa
wrestling.
State got hit much worse by that than Iowa did.
That's very true. Our wrestling team though was hit pretty hard, which
Oh
I don't know.
yes,
I don't.
yes, they were.
I don't follow wrestling, so I couldn't speak on that very much. But they were hit harder, and Noah Shannon was pretty much the one who was really hit by it that affected us. But I would argue in the end he didn't, because our defense is still top 10 in the country this year, and kind of business as usual at this point with the defense. So that's pretty good. I want to see more interceptions, of course, because they haven't been doing that a lot this year. But that's also partially because, in my opinion anyway, the offenses we've played against when Cooper was still in the game, which, by the way, obviously everyone knows that storyline. That's another injury we had, more adversity we just experienced. So I think that the offenses we played against this year got smarter and did not throw it in Cooper's general direction. I think that's a part of what happened.
Yeah.
But I have to say that the Deshaun Lee, who's the player that came in Cooper's place as corner, he did a good job. I was very happy to see how he did. He actually did play a little bit of corner earlier in the year, when one of the other players was out for a few games from the gambling investigation. But yeah, so I guess it was a difficult season in many ways. I think going forward, like I said, I can't predict what it's going to be because, first of all, obviously the Big Ten is going to change. Second of all, the offensive coordinator is a big question mark as to who we're going to get and just how much Kirk is going to let them run things offensively. And then another thing that some Iowa fans are saying is that there's a chance he also leaves and that he retires. I don't buy into that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the ideal scenario is that he stays, but he kind of get his hands off of the offense, and he's just there kind of as a general manager type of deal. I think that's the role in which he thrives. He's really good at motivating players and motivating the team. And, the proof is in the pudding as far as that goes. And I would say that they were very motivated because look at everything we've experienced and look where we ended up. Granted, in a weak Big Ten West, but still a 9-3 record, even though it's not elite, you can't argue with that. That's a solid record.
Yeah. And I was going to say that basically that I think Ferris is probably going to leave. I just go out a winner, in my opinion. Go out a winner.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see us win, obviously, the Big Ten championship. I also don't have any illusions about it. But my realistic goal, well, obviously my, pie in the sky goal is to win. My realistic goal is to, whether it be Ohio State or Michigan, to not give up, not be totally beaten out. Like I want to stay, throughout the game, in the game. I don't want to just be beat in the first quarter. Yeah. So that's kind of my goal that I think is realistic for this team.
Well, Erica, I got one question involving the Iowa-Nebraska matchup on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Is Iowa going to be in look-ahead mode? And is Nebraska going to try to catch them? Or are we going to see a close Iowa victory?
No, it's going to be a close Iowa victory in my eyes, and I'll tell you why. Because this whole season, they could have been in that mode where they're just like, well, we have all these players out, forget it. We give up, we surrender. That's not how Iowa operates. That's just not how it operates. And the fans and the team are very, very hungry to beat Nebraska after last year. Very, very hungry.
Keep them out of the ball game, so that could happen.
What was
That's what I was thinking too, Jackson. Was that it could be a trap game for Iowa because Nebraska's desperate to try to get to a bowl game. I'm not saying they will lose to Nebraska, but that could potentially be a trap game. I don't think it will be, though. We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it depends how you define a trap game, too. Like, to you, does a trap game mean that they're going to massacre us? Because I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I just think that
I honestly don't see how Nebraska scores.
They're going to put all their eggs in the basket if they want to go to a bowl game. I think they're going to really – just like I think Maryland – you know how Maryland kept it close with us? Because, I mean, that was basically Maryland's Super Bowl because they don't really have much to play for. Yeah. So they gave us their all that game. That's why you saw their quarterback crying on the sideline with his coach because they wanted to win that game badly.
Well, you know what? Maryland doesn't do well against good defense. I mean, look, last time we were in there, we got 6 interceptions. And that was on their turf, not ours.
Well, Maryland had something to play for. I mean, they could go from a shitty bowl to a slightly less shitty bowl. So,
yeah, I mean, they're going to play for. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Jackson before we go into Ohio State and Michigan talk. Jackson, are you, and I know this is a Big Ten show, but I said everybody can talk about their team. So with Bama, do you see them going to the playoff?
Yeah, I could see that happen, but I do feel that Auburn's going to give us a hard time this Saturday. I mean, I know New Mexico State upset Auburn, but Auburn was in look-ahead mode, obviously. So,
very true.
So that's what was obviously happening. And the fact that Saban has never beaten Auburn 4 straight years. The most he's beaten Auburn is 3 straight years.
Oh.
Yeah. He's never beaten Auburn. So if Alabama beats Auburn for a 4th straight year this Saturday, it'll be the first time in Saban's career that he's beaten Auburn for 4 straight years.
They will, Jackson. Auburn's bad. I think Bama's going to smoke them.
Yeah, me too.
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
can you imagine Bama losing them after New Mexico State?
New Mexico State,
21 points.
Yeah, they lost to New Mexico State. I don't think you should be worrying at all.
Gents. Nobody is going to bring their A game against New Mexico State.
That's fair.
Everybody is going to bring their A game against Alabama.
That
is a good point.
Anyone would bring an A game against New Mexico State.
That's
old Coach Kill.
Auburn, Georgia feels. I know they did, but this has Auburn, Georgia feels written all over it for me.
That's a very good point. Yeah, you're right, Jackson.
Didn't Alabama play?
But I do feel that we can beat Georgia. I've got a good feeling about this year's SEC title game.
This won't be the first time Peyton Thorne's slayed a giant and an in-state rivalry. So,
deep cut.
He didn't do crap. That was Kenneth Walker. Peyton Thorne.
It was.
But if you saw last night, but if anybody in the audience on the chat saw last night's After Dark, and Sean and Darth Fort can agree with this, but I don't get too happy about cupcake weeks. I get mad when teams in general do the cupcake game crap. So it's like I didn't even watch Alabama Chattanooga.
sometimes those cupcakes give you the runs, though, and that's what happened to Auburn this week.
Jackson, what was that? What's up with the SEC playing cupcakes in Week 12? Why was there so many cupcake games?
And don't they also play one less? What's it called?
Yes, they play 8 conference games.
Why is that?
It's strategy. Alabama every year they have a bye before.
I think they want to keep the rivalries intact, but that's why. But they're kind of like in a rock and a hard place at the moment. But I do think they should move to 9 games, which I don't know if they will in 2025. But I guess we'll wait and see.
I think they'll end up moving to 9.
Well,
also,
the SEC's about to have
fairness to the SEC, a lot of the SEC teams have in-state rivalries with ACC teams. Like Kentucky plays Louisville every year.
Georgia versus Georgia Tech.
South Carolina plays Clemson. So
we've got a few of those too.
Florida State. But hey, back to the New Mexico State thing real quick.
Yeah.
Didn't Alabama play New Mexico State last year and beat them 56-3 or something like that?
That was a much worse New Mexico. New Mexico State is 9-3 this year, so
they're improved.
Significant upgrade.
Wow, Coach Kill doing a good job.
Minnesota Dave, you can relate to this, but I'm sure you know this, Dave, but New Mexico State's doing a tremendous job with Jerry Kill.
Yep.
Well, good for him, and it's good for him too. He's finally getting healthy too. That was the biggest problem. If he was still healthy, he would still be at Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he would.
Oh, no doubt.
He could have been your Kirk Ferentz. I really believe that.
Oh, that's true. Oh, Hummus Hero, we did play New Mexico State 2 weeks before rivalry week in 2021, and you're right, it was a 59-3 victory.
ESPN declined wanting to pay for a 9th conference game for the SEC. Maybe once they get sold off and have an injection of. Oh, is that what happened?
Found it there. Is he on the mic?
No,
is that what happened?
He might still be cooking.
They're gonna. I mean,
Right.
there's-
So
Interesting.
ESPN
When
asked
has-
like a bunch of buttholes. That's why they ran off the Big Ten.
That's because they are.
ESPN is all buttholes. Come on, Jackson. Don't be too young.
They're having money problems too. I mean, they had to fire a lot. They had to fire David Pollock. They fired a bunch of personalities. Then they go and they get Pat McAfee. I don't know what's going on there. But
I wonder when that next deal was.
Disney and it's like the whole corporation's gotten a whole big problem.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, this just reflects the state of football or college football in general. It's just too much about the money. It's not even about football anymore. And I know that's a different discussion for a different time, but it just gets me really frustrated. I don't like it at all.
Everything's about money, honey. Everything.
I know. Doesn't mean I
You don't like
it.
watching pickleball on ESPN?
NFL, man. Like I was saying.
Oh yeah,
Like I've
Jackson.
been
That's
saying,
exactly my style, Pitbull.
Like I've been saying with this
SEC
meal and
teams
everything
right
now,
now
it's
don't-
turning into the NFL. The college football is turning into NFL.
Yeah, exactly. It sure is.
All right.
It is,
Well, we're speaking of a game that's going to be probably rated almost as high as a lot of the top NFL games, which I think they could get 20 million viewers this year. The game, Ohio State going to Michigan. Michigan's currently favored by 3.5. It's going to be big noon kickoff, and I'm starting with the Buckeyes. So we'll start with Sean. What is your take on what you expect to see on Saturday based on, obviously you just played Minnesota and Michigan State, and so you've seen improvements on the offense. How much can you read into those improvements based on the opponents versus it's just an improving team? I mean, what's your thoughts on what we might be seeing on Saturday?
Well, I think the offense has improved significantly. I mean, I think the tackle play has gotten a lot better, with specifically Josh Simmons at left tackle. Fryer is still he's an average. He's one of our weaker starters, but Simmons, you can see why they made a huge effort to pull him in from the portal there. And I mean, this past week, I feel like was the first time there where all the pieces were kind of working together. Where, all the big skill players, Abuka, Stover, Harrison, and Henderson, really all made significant contributions through the first 2.5 quarters. And, they're definitely hitting their stride. I mean, certainly some of the production has something to do with who they've been playing, but you can't deny that they just look better. They look more comfortable and more efficient than they were at the beginning of the season. That's undeniable if you've watched them the whole year.
Hummus. Welcome to Big Ten Live, the Ocho. Thanks for coming in and shoring up the Buckeye. I laid the flag down. I threw the gauntlet down. Let's get some more Buckeyes in here. Hummus answered the call. So what do you think? What's your kind of initial thought on the game and what you're expecting?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what to expect, honestly. I mean, I still don't fully trust Kyle McCord because I think he's improving. And we don't really know what his ceiling is yet, but he has some head scratching moments. And then he'll also, I mean, the arm talent's undeniable. Like that first drive of the game against Minnesota, that seam route that he threw to Emeka Egbuka, that was it was a complete dot. So he'll have some amazing throws, but then sometimes he'll just, look very confused. And so I'm not sure what to expect. And I think so much of it will come down to McCord because our offense is built in a much more balanced structure. Whereas if, it's all take what you're going to get from what the defense is giving you. So if they're selling out to stop the run, then you're going to pass and vice versa. So I'm not sure what to expect there. I mean, I'm trying to look at it objectively. I'm not going to be ultra confident or ultra negative when it comes to it either. And from the Wolverine side, I see a team that has probably more of a firm identity. So I think that's probably a good thing for them going into the game. But I still do believe that our offense has the capability to really put up big numbers. It's just, can things fall into place, and can Kyle McCord play his best game? So,
got it.
John, I just want to look at. I mean, if you looking at McCord's stat line there, he's got 2,900 passing yards with a 22-4 touchdown interception ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Very high QBR.
Yeah, 8th in the country.
If you listen to any of the narratives, around him, you would never you would never expect to see numbers like that. If all you're doing is going on Twitter or listening to talking heads, I mean, these expectations on these Ohio State quarterbacks are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is, Sean. I'm not getting down on Kyle. I think, like I said, I think he has a high ceiling, and I think he has a lot of arm talent. It's just that our offense is, there's such amazing skill position guys all around them that if you're not,
That's
performing
true.
at an elite level with all these elite guys, then it's going to show. You know what I mean? And that's what we saw from Justin Fields and CJ Stroud and Dwayne Haskins. And, people complained about JT Barrett back then, and he didn't even have the weapons that those guys did. So, I mean, you see a wide receiver streaking 10 yards open and the quarterback misses him. It's going to be more apparent than if the wide receivers, just has a little bit of a space to make the catch. So, but I'm not getting down on McCord.
But in college, quarterbacks are going to miss those throws, with some consistency. I mean, it's just, I mean, McCord's played, I think, quite well this season, and just the narrative around him is that he's not good at all. He's trash, and I just don't think that's. I think he's.
Oh, it's not true at all. No, he's made some amazing plays.
No, I'm saying anything here. I'm just saying a lot of people.
I think that with quarterbacks, it's they're such an integral part of the team that especially when we're talking about Ohio State, if they're not, elite, there's going to be complaining about them. I know that on Corey's show, we have one of Hayden Fry's former coaches who comes on the post-game shows, Don Patterson. And when we were having, or when we have been having whatever, when we've been having all of our issues with quarterback, he said quarterback's one of the hardest positions on the field to play, because when things go great, you get all the glory. But similarly, when things go badly, the quarterback gets a ton of the blame. None of the other skill positions feel that blame as intensely as a quarterback. And I also think in this case, like I said, of Ohio State, where it's significantly really excellent quarterbacks, it's going to be maybe more noticeable if they're not as good as previous years or whatever. So I think there's that to consider too.
All right. So yeah, I mean, quarterback is definitely something both teams are looking at, and of course, Darth Fort. From the JJ perspective, I mean, when I looked at the QBR is higher for JJ than McCord, but obviously passing yards and
what up, Gizmo?
Gizmo's here. The touchdown and passing yards isn't as high as McCord, but the QBR is higher. But what do you? I mean, since we're talking quarterbacks, how do we think? Do you think JJ is going to bounce back from these last 2 weeks where it seems like they've kind of limited him? He's been kind of nursing that ankle situation. So what's your take there?
Well, that's going to be the main thing. Is JJ going to be 100% or as close to 100% as possible? And for people that think that JJ can't pass, things like that, I mean, they apparently don't know. Like you said, he still leads the nation in QBR. So,
and completion percentage.
Actually, last time I checked, he was like third in completion percentage, second or third. But I'd have to check on that. But I mean, there's a reason why he had 8 pass attempts and 0 official pass. There was a pass in the second half of Penn State that was negated by a pass interference.
DPI, yep.
But there's a reason why things have gone on the way they have, because they're trying to get healthy. Plus, we still need to figure out what's going on with our tackle. Now, I'm not saying that Barnhart's bad, but he's had a bad stretch of play recently. And
Yes.
I know he originally got benched because Trente was injured, but now I think Trente is healthy. So now the thing is, who's going to be there at right tackle? Because I don't think I'm the only one that says Trente Jones needs to be back in there.
Yeah, I've been saying it. Moose, I think you've been saying it too.
And the offensive line definitely goes to us. I mean, I remember Sean talking about their tackle and stuff like that. If you think that's your only problem, you really need to taking a look at Hinsman, your center. He's a liability. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be tough going against that front. Against the
if they're gonna play Barnhart, then he needs to be on the opposite side of JT, because JT is a speed rusher and he'll get burnt by him. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't know. JT's not that much of a speed rusher. He comes with power a lot.
But the only thing I don't like about about Tuimoloau is that he's too much of a flasher. I mean, he flashed last game, but I mean he basically built his bones off of that Penn State game last year, because outside of that game, you really didn't hear much about him. He was kind of a non-factor in 85% of those games. So he's kind of
a non-factor is overstating it. He's a base, strong power edge. He's not going to. He's not going to light it up with backs. What?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to make it sound like he sucked, but I mean,
no.
I think there's a lot of people.
But
I mean, if anybody's sitting there thinking he's like a top 10, top 15 draft pick, they really need to take a step back.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one of those. He came in with like just all the ballyhoos you can imagine. He was one of the top 2 or 3 players in the country, according to every recruiting services, and he hasn't lived up to that. But he's been a very good player the entire time he's been.
I mean, you can sit there
he's
and
a guy
say
anyone would take on their team. He's a dog.
Yeah.
He fights hard. He plays well. I love him, but he hasn't been Chase Young or a Bosa or anything like that.
Yeah, and you can blame the Wolverine to me, but I mean, as far as your secondary, the only guy that I really worry about is Denzel. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't think Proctor is nearly as good as a lot of you guys think he is. I think that
Ransom's probably going to be out this game too. Ransom probably won't be there this game.
Yeah, I heard Ransom's out.
Ransom's definitely out.
I mean,
he might not be back even for the postseason. That's a pretty substantial injury. So,
wow.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Styles has way more talent than Ransom, though. I think he's got way more potential.
So Mike Fort, what's your take on the game? Like, what are your keys?
I think the keys are going to be, we're going to get some, like I said, I think Hinsman's a liability, and our best line is in the center. Our interior defensive line, I don't think they're going to be able to handle that, which is going to be kind of steel on steel, because like I said, I rag on their centers, I rag on their tackles. Their guards are top notch. I have absolutely no problem with Ohio State's guard play. So, who's going to win that, that interior rush in that one?
It is interesting too. They have been playing Jones at center Matthew Jones at center in practice. So they might be something that you see.
Ooh. Yeah, I heard that they were moving. They were kind of like elastic guards, kind of moving them around, see where they stick.
Oh, holy cow! There could be a chance of snow. I wonder if it's going to be.
I think it's a
wonder
really
if
low
it's gonna-
chance. I saw there's like a 5% chance. It's going to be close for sure.
I wonder if it's going to be like the 1950s Snow Bowl.
I don't
Nope.
think so.
I doubt
Hope
it.
not.
Doubt that.
Probably flurries. If
Yeah, I
that.
was going to say, how much snow are we talking about? I mean, we're not
No.
talking about a team from Florida who never plays in snow.
Would
Shouldn't
there
that
be
big a
like
deal.
enough snowflakes from the snow where you can stick your tongue out and get a snowflake in, or no?
I don't. I'd say it would be flurries, if anything.
Yeah, it's not going to be much.
What-
I always get happy
Knowing
when
that-
it snows.
I mean, I would
this is
say
a
there's.
John, you want to
subject.
hear my take on the game?
What's that? What's that, Jason?
You want to hear my take on the game?
Go for it.
Okay, we'll start defensively. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think these are the two best defenses in the country. Ohio State's gotten really good. They're much better this year than they were last year on defense. But I think Michigan slightly has a better defense, but it's really close. On offense, I think that Kyle McCord has got better through the weeks. He's making better decisions. I do think Kyle McCord is a good quarterback. However, I don't think he's on JJ's level. I think JJ's better than him. I also think JJ has more experience. He's been in bigger games than McCord. I think that's an advantage. Offensively, I think Barnhart has had some issues. He's got burned quite a few times against speed rushers. I'm hoping that we get Hinton back and Henderson back, so that'd be huge for us. I think our offensive line overall is very good. I don't think it's elite this year like it was last year.
No.
I think Ohio State's offensive line is pretty good. I just don't think it's as good as ours. I'm not knocking Ohio State. They have a good offensive line too. But,
Yeah, it's closer this year, I'd say.
They do have the much better wide receivers. They got big time receivers.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for Michigan is the secondary play. Because I think we'll do a pretty good job stopping the run. I'm not saying we're going to completely stop it, but I think we will do enough to contain it. And I think it's just going to come down to Marvin Harrison Jr. Can Will Johnson do a good enough job, guarding him? And I know he's not going to be able to stop him completely. He's going to make plays because he's Marvin Harrison Jr.
No one can.
But you see what he did. You see what Will Johnson did. Yeah, you seen what Will Johnson did last year, though. He gave up one big play, and then he pretty much shut him down after that. So I think overall it's going to be a really good game. Two really good football teams. I think the difference is going to be J.J. McCarthy has the experience and McCord doesn't, and I think that's going to give Michigan the win. I'm going to say 27-17 Michigan.
Well, I mean, there's a few other things I was thinking about. I think that Minter's probably going to try and do something more like a cover one. I think, eventually,
You think they're going to play man all the way across there? Or?
I think he's going to have to, because I have a hunch that Day's going to.
They're doing that.
So high against all those weapons.
Well, the thing is
dicey.
that I think they're going to be leaning on Henderson now that he's pretty healthy.
Yeah. That's what OSU did.
Yeah,
that's what OSU did last year. They played cover zero. This year they're bringing that middle linebacker up in zone. That's what they weren't doing last year. So it's made a big difference from what I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, eventually, Marvin. If it's strictly Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Will Johnson all game, eventually Marvin's going to get his. It hits Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, it is what it is. The saying is, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. But I mean, with the cover one, it allows them to kind of keep it in front of him, because my gut is that Travion Henderson is going to get, I would say, minimum 25 carries, and if he breaks the 30 mark, it wouldn't surprise me. Plus, you're going to see, a little bit
I'll be surprised if they use him in that high of volume. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna try to pick and choose their spots to try to get him out on the edge and try to hit some gaps here. I don't think. I mean, they need him to bust a big play or two in this game, and I don't think handing him the rock over and over again is necessarily the best way to go about doing that.
Well, plus, there's also going to be, Trainum's probably going to get a couple of touches. Wouldn't surprise me if Dallin Hayden gets a couple as well.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 60-40 run.
That's different than what they've done for a few years now, but who knows?
But consider the fact that they've had they've had injury problems with Trayvon Henderson. They've had injury problems with Mine Williams. I mean, their running back stable has been pretty depleted for a good number of time now. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, no, definitely. We played you guys last year. We basically had no running backs.
Yeah.
I mean, like Trainum, we moved Trainum like 2 weeks before from defense to running back.
Yeah.
Because they were so beaten up at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been bad at times the last couple of years that running back.
I mean, my gut says that the offense you had to run last year was not the offense they wanted to run against us.
Yeah, probably not. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm just that just was the reality. Yes.
It's not
they were very good.
I mean, and I didn't mean to make it sound like I just don't think Day, because of injuries, I don't think Day could run the offense he wanted to run against us last year. And I think now he's got the chance. That's why I'm
yeah.
game,
I mean, yeah.
So
I think you're dead on with that. I think that's absolutely spot on.
But
Daniel here made, I think, a really good comment about how Michigan might play the safeties, and so that's why Travion Henderson might be utilized in like a 60-40, along with the other running backs that are healthy.
And that's exactly what
I'll tell you one of the problems you have when you play man across, like if you play man all over the board with a single high safety, is you really actually leave yourself very vulnerable to big plays in the running game as well.
Well, you know that from last year.
What?
You know that from last year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you stack the box and they find a crease, and Travion Henderson finds a crease, we got 6 points on the board.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's.
But I want to see how Coach Day is right now, because I mean, if I'm Day, all the talk around the world, around the college football is, oh God, best wide receiving core ever. Prolific passing game. I'm wondering if he's going to sit there and go, okay, time to flip the script. Just full dose of vitamin Henderson down their throat. I mean, that's what I would do. Because you never let them see you coming. Nobody expects a Spanish Armada, and the Spanish Armada in this one could be Henderson. So if they sit there and they play a cover two, I mean, you're just begging them to just ride Henderson like a rented mule just down your throat. So it's kind of like a smoke screen, which is what I'm worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go to our non-Michigan and Buckeye folks here to get their take. We'll start with Jackson, and obviously you and I are going to be talking about this in more detail tomorrow night on the Jacksonian at 9 p.m. Eastern. But what's kind of your take on this matchup? Michigan favored by 3.5 at the Big House.
I gotta say, I got a feeling this game has the makings of a 3-4 overtime game. I mean,
wow!
I mean, because I don't know what's gonna happen, but this gonna be another amazing edition of the game. I mean, when I think of this game, I'm usually thinking about Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler, the Snowball, and number 1 versus number 2 in 2006. The great battles between Harbaugh and Ryan Day.
Tim Biakova taking Northwestern to the Rose Bowl.
That's just got me hyped up, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I get so excited, like especially rivalry week. I'm excited about the Michigan-Ohio State game, Alabama, just all of it. I mean, this is awesome to me. I mean, it's going to be awesome watching it on Fox on big noon kickoff. There won't be any butt whippings, at least I think. I don't know what my prediction is, because I don't even know if I'm going to know what my prediction is tomorrow, honestly. I'll have that ready for Wednesday night. I'll release that on Twitter and Instagram. But I'm loving the running game from Michigan and Ohio State. Yeah, that's going to be really good. I want to see some more Blake Corum and more of Henderson.
So do I.
And
I'm happy for Blake because he finally gets to play in the game. He was hurt last year.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see more of the defenses. They've been tremendous this year.
Well, and I remember on the panel last night, I got roasted for saying that Ohio State had statistically a good offense going into the game. I
Good
looked at
defense.
the Ohio State defense was like 15.5 points per game prior to Michigan and Georgia, which would, I think, it was like sixth. They were like sixth in the nation in points allowed per game. And people were, I said top 5, and people were saying like, no, Ohio State's defense was shit last year. And I was like, no, you guys were hyping this defense up last year. And it kind of got, taken back down to earth. So and that's the reason why I said, I mean, if you think I'm looking at this season and I'm wanting to anoint Jim Knowles, it's like, no, I've seen this script play out before. So, if Michigan can be held to under 30 points, I'm good with that. Knowles.
Well, and I will say, oh man, I forgot what I was going to say, but this is going to be pretty fun to watch. But it's going to be tremendous on Saturday.
Oh, yeah,
wow. Buckeye Mike says 60-17 Ohio State.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure McCord's going to throw 15 inside slants.
Buckeye Mike, are you under the influence or something? I don't think that's not going to be 60.
I hope he's not going to operate a vehicle at all tonight because there's no way that's happening.
Yeah, you gotta lay off that stuff that's wrong with your head.
I don't know if he's smoking something or drinking something or maybe both, but there's no way this happens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that gives me flashbacks to 2018-19 and those like blowouts.
Yeah,
we're still waiting for Dana to hit 100 on us. That hasn't happened yet.
It gives me flashbacks of.
It's not gonna be 60-17. I'm gonna keep it about 50, but that's not gonna be a 60-17.
Maybe they was thinking they were going to hang 100 on us in 4 years. Maybe that's what he was thinking.
You guys didn't even show up for that game, did you?
If it was the Buckeyes playing Sparty, I could see it definitely being 60-17.
Oh yeah,
that's a pretty good prediction.
I guess I don't get
myself.
I don't get the overconfidence from either side, but I definitely can't get it for Ohio State because, I mean, you're on back-to-back ass whippings, and you're in Ann Arbor.
But
CJ Stroud ain't coming out of that tunnel. I'll tell you that right now.
Regression to the mean. Those weren't representative games the last couple years.
Andrew has another award-winning take here, and I think that's another take that's not realistic at all. I think this is going to be maybe a touchdown.
OSU fans, OSU fans are way overconfident right now.
Yeah. They kind of remind me of the Saturday Night Live skit with the Bears, the old Bears Saturday Night Live skit.
The Bears.
Urban is in the facility, so this could be a much different scenario.
And Mike, if they had CJ Stroud, I would be a lot more worried if they had CJ Stroud.
Yeah, if CJ, I'd be shitting bricks right now if CJ was the quarterback.
I think
probably no.
If we played 22,
I feel more confident if we had the Bosa brothers and Chase Young and Jeff Okuda, all those guys too.
Yeah. Jack if we played the 2022 game 9 more times, I don't think we hold CJ Stroud to those numbers again.
Hummus here, what do you think?
I mean, everybody's confident when they're behind their keyboard. You know what I mean? So
true.
Keyboard warriors are in the house.
This is one of the only real Ohio fans, man, for real.
We actually have Kyle McCord in here right now. So that's very exciting.
Right. Okay.
Sounds about right.
That's not sarcasm, is it? That's for real.
I don't buy it.
We have celebrities in the chat right
Sweet.
now.
Well, I mean, if you believe
I
that,
mean, he's risking a libel suit right now if he's not Kyle McCord.
well,
Right?
I mean, if you believe that, then Connor Stallions has been on every John D'Adamo cast for the last month.
Yes.
I am just on a personal account.
We also had Saban on last year's.
We did it. We had Sad Saban. That's
Saban.
right.
Sad
Oh, he
Saban,
needs
who
to
I
come
thought was
back,
awesome.
man.
I don't even know who that is, to be honest.
Yes. If anyone knows who Sad Saban was, please let us know because we've
Dude,
been
he needs to
wondering
come
for
back.
years.
That was comical.
Yeah, no, don't let us know. Just come back to the chat because I love
Or that. No, I
Well,
don't know. I don't know. It was funny.
I have a crying day account.
I
knew that was you.
I know.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me.
Minnesota Dave, what are you thinking might be happening on the game coming up?
Oh, this is a classic rivalry. I am from Michigan. I was born, raised in Michigan, moved to Minnesota, and there's just something about me with just in my blood. I do not like both fan bases, but in my blood,
You're here every week.
I have to be a Michigan fan when it comes to this game.
That's right.
It's just, I guess just being born in Michigan, you have to cheer for the Michigan team no matter what. I feel that this is going to be a 24-19 game Michigan win.
Wow.
And we're talking about we were talking about the snow game. Wasn't there like a conspiracy with Bo and Woody? I think Bo came out with some shoes that would have good traction in the snow or something like that, and it got Woody all frustrated up.
I think the Snowball was before Bo was the head coach. The Snowball.
I'm not talking about that game. I'm talking about like some game in the 70s that they had. They were expecting snow, and they said that Bo was had some special shoes for the traction on turf and snow.
Huh.
Has there ever been real snow in this game that you guys can remember? There was a little bit.
Yeah, 2 years ago there was
2 years ago there was some snow.
Just a little dusting.
Yeah.
Ann Arbor doesn't really get that much snow generally.
You know, in that Snowball, the 50 Snowball game, they were punting on first down. No joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the record. There were like over 40 punts in that game. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy?
It was one on a block punt
JJ or
yeah, I think Michigan won that game and they had negative yardage total offense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy if these days if JJ or Kyle McCord punted on like third down or something? Because I mean Tom Brady did before in the NFL. So it's not completely impossible.
Caleb Williams was punting. He was doing the pooch punt. Saw it a few times.
Hank and Bobby screwed up Texas when they tried to get them to punt. Nebraska the punt to win that game. That didn't show.
So we'll get to predictions in just a second. But Erica, wanted to get your take as well on the game.
I'm really not sure which side to go on, like who's going to win. I just know it's going to be really close. As far as who I would prefer to play in the Big Ten Championship, if Cade were still around, I would say Michigan, but I think I'd prefer Ohio State.
We got robbed of Cade versus JJ.
No kidding. We did
The
our part.
injury gods.
We did our part to get there, but Cade didn't. Yeah. I'm really disappointed about that. I think that would have been just unbelievable.
Well, I mean, if they were playing him in a hopeless game against Penn State, maybe he would have.
I didn't hear anything anyone said because everyone was talking at once.
I said if Iowa wasn't trotting Cade out in a hopeless game against Penn State when he actually got hurt. I mean, when the team was already dead in that game.
Well, the thing about Cade was he was never. I mean, I don't want to make this about Iowa right now. We're talking about the game, but to be honest, Cade was never 100% healthy on our turf.
Right.
I mean, that's just the honest to God truth. And to me, they should have let Deacon or Marco Linez come in a few times and relieve him early on, like when we were playing the easier games. But they didn't. They chose not to do that. And I was one of the fans who said they made a mistake, and look what happened. So. Yeah, but that goes back to the more like higher problems, like more problems than deeper problems than just that. But anyway, as far as this game goes with Ohio State and Michigan, yeah, like I said, I'd prefer to play Ohio State probably in the championship, but yeah, I think it's going to be very close within like maybe even a field goal. I mean, maybe even that close, because to me, these two teams are very strong on all the sides of the ball. I don't know how they compare as far as special teams go. I don't think that was really talked about, so I'd be interested to know about that. Especially, being an Iowa fan, of course, I would ask that question, right?
Yeah.
As far as I would probably give the ever so slight edge to Ohio State on special teams.
Okay.
It's mostly a wash, but I would give a very slight edge to Ohio State.
Neither team has shown like any dynamic ability in special teams. Neither one
No
has
blocks,
made
no nothing like that.
How about that safety? That safety we got against Maryland.
Yeah,
that was
Maryland. Yeah, that was.
Look at
the Buckeyes. One thing that the Buckeyes have shown. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I personally love safeties, but that's just me. We got one this weekend too.
Oh, I know. I saw you guys got one right
away,
pretty soon after we did, and I was like, wait a minute, this is the safety. This is just peak Big Ten.
Yeah,
we got it within like a minute of the game starting or something like that.
I said that we did our Iowa impressions. We got 2 safeties.
Oh, good for you! Look at that. We only got one. Darn.
We out Iowa. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, with that said, we're gonna go with predictions, and we do have one more Buckeye, and then that's it. No more. No, please, no one else come in. We got 9 people. We got Buckeye Mike in the house here to shore up the Buckeyes.
So, Mike, are you serious about your 60 points? I have to ask.
No, if you would read the chat, it's gone up.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't see after that.
You said 80.
80 to nothing.
80.
I'm
Maybe
sick
18.
and tired of it.
Maybe 18, but no one's getting to 80. Not with these defenses.
No.
Wow.
No.
If you're sick and tired, you couldn't be a
Michigan style I just saw last week. Oh my gosh, we are going to cause you nightmares. And you know what? I'm not even afraid to say it anymore because I'm so sick and tired of me being everyone's target.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to remind you that you were tied at the half to this team, and you were up by 3 after 3 quarters.
They put up 60. I saw my mortgage.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a big statement.
Yeah, if you guys score 60 on this, I will get on StreamYard Live and I will set fire to this hat. I mean, I will actually.
I'll run naked outside and buttless chats.
And I will take off this hat and I will literally set a torch to it. And then I will go grab 3 or 4 of my Michigan shirts out of about 50, and I will set those on fire on StreamYard.
Right.
No, you got.
But I got a real question. Is this a win or go home game for Michigan?
Yes.
Because I gotta be honest, I can't help but feel Ohio State's in either way.
No.
Neither
team is. Michigan is out.
Michigan's for sure not getting it.
Iowa's probably
Jackson.
Iowa.
If Michigan loses, they're done because everybody's against us already. So they're just waiting for us to lose to somebody, then we're done.
Yep.
We're not.
Because I see it. If Michigan loses, they're out. But Ohio State loses, and let's say it gets down to a point like Ohio State, Louisville. Ohio State would have a better chance of getting in than Louisville because all they got to say is, oh, well, we lost to Michigan. As for Louisville, they lost to Pitt. That's a problem. Not saying we're going to see that kind of scenario, but I'm saying if we did see that kind of a scenario, we could see Ohio State. We would definitely see Ohio State get more of a favorable situation than Louisville, obviously.
Okay. I would say for Ohio State to make it as a loser, I would say that Texas would have to lose another game along the way. Florida State would have to lose to Florida. Louisville would have to lose to Kentucky. Florida State would have to lose to Louisville, and Georgia would have to beat Alabama. Because if Georgia is a one-loss non-conference championship team, and Ohio State is a one-loss, they will take Georgia over Ohio State. Sure. I will bet you any amount of money on this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jackson. If we lose, we're going to Orange Bowl. Most likely, we'll be in the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
Because here's the thing: this game is it.
What's that?
This game is it.
I don't know if.
Thomas, you were saying something? I can't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying that I think that Jackson's point about Louisville is relevant. I don't think those ACC dominoes would necessarily all have to fall in that order. I think that it would be a legitimate argument, Ohio State one loss versus Louisville one loss. Louisville knocks off Florida State, then I think it's a discussion, Louisville or Ohio State.
There's too many dominoes there. Not all that's going to happen. There's going to be at least one of them that doesn't.
Also the argument is, if you're asking me who is better, an 11-1 Ohio State or a 12-1 Louisville, it's Ohio State. Who is going to
not even close. It's very close.
There is no chance that a 12-1 ACC championship Louisville gets left home.
If they're not taking Louisville,
I don't know. I mean, if you look at Louisville's body of work, they've got a lot of really close wins against pretty bad competition.
But the thing
is, if they beat Florida State, they won't have really a signature win. Their best win will be against a Florida State team without their quarterback.
And that's what I'm saying. Ohio State would be the better team, and 11-1 non-conference playing, let alone winning. Ohio State is a better team than a 12-1 ACC champion Louisville. However, the committee is going to look at two things overall. One, they're going to have that 13th data point. That is very important to the committee. Plus, they are going to be a Power 5 conference champion. Those two things are very important to the committee members. And
is it really?
It really is.
So the committee will do what the committee wants to do. If they deem Ohio State to be unequivocally a better team than Louisville, they'll put Ohio State in. It's that simple. So we'll just have to wait and see if it shakes out. But like Erica said, we would have to get to that point anyways. First, the Pac-12 would have to eliminate itself. And we don't know what would happen if Alabama and Georgia both end up with one loss and Texas ends up with one loss. This could be a complete year for the CFP committee where they just don't know what to do. Like we actually haven't seen it happen yet. And this year is really shaping up. Like it could end up being the year where we really need the expanded playoff because you got these weird scenarios with Texas's win over Alabama. And then if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama has the better win than Texas, but Texas beat Alabama. So what are you there? You know what I mean? And then you have Ohio State, who has the best loss out of all of them potentially, if they were to lose to Michigan, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But let's just say this happens. I mean, this is chaos.
Well,
can you imagine if we got all these teams with one loss? Oh my God, how the committee's going to decide who gets in?
The likelihood of any conference having two representatives in the playoff is incredibly low this time around.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Totally.
This year, there's too much balance across the conferences this year. It's unlikely to happen just because so many things.
I mean, every team has a contender. Every conference has a contender right now. Every conference has someone that
most of them have two. Most conferences have two.
Everyone except the Big 12 has multiple.
The ACC. Well, okay, I guess Louisville's still technically in it. Yeah, everybody but the Big 12. But I see absolutely no realistic scenario that the Pac-12 does not get one team in. I mean, I guess if Washington loses to Washington State, and
not happening.
The scenario would be if Oregon loses to Oregon State.
I think Oregon or Washington.
Arizona were to beat Washington in the championship game, then that would get the Pac-12 out of the picture, probably.
Yeah, I guess so.
They could
Yeah,
still
the Pac-12 would have
cannibalize.
to cannibalize at an unreal level for that to happen.
Not really. I mean, do you think Oregon losing to Oregon State and Arizona beating Washington is like a completely outrageous scenario? Because I don't.
I wouldn't put money on it. I mean, if you're looking for a parlay, I wouldn't take that bet.
right.
You were saying Hummus Hero?
Yeah, Hummus.
I don't think I was saying anything.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do predictions, and then we'll do final thoughts and where good people find you. But we'll start with predictions. Buckeye Mike, I'm gonna give you one more swing at it. What's your what's your prediction for the game?
Okay, so in all seriousness, let's take the anger away from the constant attacks and be serious about this. I mean, seriously, I love my team, but I don't want to be the face of my team. So do not come at me any longer. That goes for everyone.
Well, maybe don't predict us to score 80 points. And maybe we won't.
Okay,
Ohio
okay.
State's gonna win. Ohio State's going to win this game no matter what.
Okay.
Things happened last year that aren't going to happen again. This defense looks a lot better. Both defenses look really good. Both quarterbacks, at the end of the day, when everything is taken away from Michigan, both quarterbacks look mid, if we're being serious. I mean, come on. With that being said, you're looking at closer to a 2002 type of score. It is going to be really close down to the last play of the game. I don't think there's going to be any overtimes. So I'm thinking it's going to be Ohio State 28, Michigan 23. And that cup of blue tears is going to taste really good after, too.
It's going to hurt worse than you know.
Hummus, what's your score?
Well, you know, I've learned so many times, not just watching the game, but watching all rivalry games, to kind of expect the unexpected. You know, I mean, in '95, we were supposed to kill you guys, and Eddie was supposed to just run up and down the field, and it was quite the opposite. That Biaka Batuka actually, you know, killed us. So, you know, and then '07, we weren't supposed to be that great, ended up winning, you know, and making it back to the national title game. So, you know, and then the last couple of years, we were supposed to win both those games, favored in both, and lost. And, you know, this year, I think it's really, you know, the line's been bet down to 3.5, which is basically just home field. It's basically on a neutral field. It's a pick 'em right now. You know what I mean? So, but of course, I'm going to have to pick Ohio State because I'm a Buckeye, born and raised.
Sure.
And, you know, I've been watching the team for 35 years of my life, so I'm going to pick Ohio State, and I'm going to pick them in a little bit higher of a scoring game. Just get the feeling that everybody's thinking defense, that the offenses are going to show up, and it's going to be the Buckeyes winning 37-28.
Okay, Erica.
I don't know who to pick. I mean, to me, they're very similar teams. I mean, that's what I thought coming into this conversation. That's what I'm leaving with. I do agree that it's going to be super close. I think overtime might be a possibility. So that's somewhere maybe that I see things differently. But I think it's going to be super close, as in 7 points or less. And that's my take on it. I did want to ask, though, I don't think we really touched on the fact that Harbaugh is not going to be on the sideline. Is that going to influence anything, in your opinions?
Yes,
Nope.
Of course it will. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it won't, because everything's already done. Do you guys not understand? He got the Urban Meyer treatment in 2018. Urban Meyer was able to coach the team.
No, he didn't get nearly the Urban Meyer treatment.
I can ask you a question.
Yes,
When Jim is on the
Urban wasn't
sideline,
allowed in the facility,
Let's
right?
let
let me talk. When Jim, Erica, when Jim is on the sideline, Michigan averages 45 points a game, and when he's not, they average 30. So maybe that answers your question.
They're
Yeah.
also playing significantly tougher teams in those last 3 games, though. Well, not Purdue, but
Not according to what you guys have been saying for the last 3 weeks. So be careful what you say. Yes, that would be minor treatment because he got to coach during the week like Harbaugh's been able to, and he wasn't able to be at the stadium at all, just like Harbaugh's not.
no,
So yes,
I don't
it
know
is.
who said you got the urban treatment. No, whoever said that was wrong.
Urban was suspended.
Hey,
when
what's he
Urban
talking
was
about?
suspended, he was suspended from all team activities. Urban was not
Right.
allowed to coach.
Yeah, this
He
was
wasn't
this isn't
allowed
even
on
close to being the
campus.
same.
No, he was allowed to coach the team during the week.
No, he wasn't. He
No, he
was
wasn't.
suspended
No.
from all team activities the whole time.
Yeah.
He was suspended.
He
for-
was
yep,
out.
Thomas was right.
3 weeks.
Well, this question I got for everybody in the panel: if Michigan beats Ohio State this Saturday,
He meant win.
are we ready to consider Sharon Moore the next
No.
Ryan Day?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, moving
No.
on. No.
No.
Minnesota Dave, what's your prediction?
Thanks, John.
Oh, I already said my prediction. I said
26.
I'm sorry, 24 to 19.
Okay. Mike?
I will say JJ goes 19 of 27, 214 yards, one touchdown, 1 pick. Blake Corum will go 27 carries for $137, 2 touchdowns. Travion Harrison
27 for 37. Did you say 137? Okay.
He's going to go 27 for 30. Yeah. Henderson's going to go, I'll say 28 carries for $119, 2 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison, he'll have 8 catches, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. I think it's going to be 34-24 Michigan.
Okay. Hearing a lot of close on the lower side scores here. Moose?
I think it's good. I don't think you're going to see a lot of points this time around because the defenses are really good. I think it's going to be Michigan 27, Ohio State 17.
Okay. Another low scoring affair. Okay. Sean?
Okay. I felt more confident in this game as the season's gone forward, and I think these two teams are trending in opposite directions here. I think Ohio State's getting better, and I don't think Michigan necessarily is at this point in the season. I think the defense shows it in a big way, and it's like a 27-13 Buckeye victory.
Okay. And I know, Jackson, you said you weren't going to give a prediction, but any final thoughts on the game?
I will say this looks like a 4 overtime game, and I don't know who I'm picking as the winner yet, but I have this game being a 31-29 victory for the winner in 4 overtimes.
Okay.
Wow. You guys have all convinced me to lower mine. I think I had given one that was a lot higher before somewhere else, but I'm gonna say 27-21 Michigan. Yeah, y'all convinced. I originally had it a lot higher scoring, but I think you guys are, the defenses are gonna probably have a day on both sides.
Am I the only one that so I went the highest out of all of them?
No, I was 42 to 35, and I lowered it.
This has been a higher scoring game. I mean, okay, who here would have called 62 to 39 a few years ago?
Yes.
Oh,
Games.
I mean, their Ohio State defense was bad that year, so it had to be that kind of game for us to win.
Yeah,
So
both defenses are really good this year, and you know how the new time rules, like the time keeps winding down, so it's a lot less.
The new clock rules is going to prevent from being high scored, I think.
Yeah. And I honestly, I'm with Buckeye Mike. I don't think these quarterbacks are at that level to really put up these points like that.
Well, I got a feeling it's going to be the running game that really gets things going for both teams.
He's capable. I think it's because he's got the experience.
That's
Here's what I know is going to happen. Blake Corum is going to get lots of carries because he didn't get to be in the game other than 2 carries last year with the injury.
He didn't play at all last year, did he?
He played 2 snaps.
He got 2 snaps, 6 yards.
Oh, wow.
He just was not in any, like they try, like basically he begged to be in, but he was in no shape to be in. So they took him out real quick and put in Donovan.
He didn't play in the playoff game at all, right?
No.
Yeah.
He was in there in heart, but not in body.
Yeah.
All right. So it's that time for final thoughts and where can people find you on the internet? And since we started with Buckeye Mike last time, we're going to start with Jackson Johnson this time. Final thought and where can people find you?
Well, I will say I'm excited to see some of the Black Friday games like Iowa, Nebraska, and I mean, I know Michigan State's not so exciting, but it's still pretty exciting to see a second Big Ten game on Black Friday. That is pretty fun. I'm looking forward to seeing whether Illinois can clinch bowl eligibility against Northwestern. I'm thinking they could. Minnesota, Wisconsin, that's going to be a great game. Can PJ Fleck and the Minnesota Golden Gophers continue the winning streak against Wisconsin? That is my question. I'm so looking forward to that. I want to see if PJ Fleck can get them to a bowl game. I wish Minnesota had gotten on the losing streak, but oh well, it is what it is. We can't go back in time. But you can also check out me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979. You can check me out on Twitter at Jackson09960335 and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. And of course, you can find Friday's episode of the Jacksonian where I talk with the lead Patriots reporter of Fan Nation's Patriots Country and Locked On Patriots host Mike Debate, where we talk about what has been going on with the New England Patriots all season this year. And we ask about what's going to happen with the future of Bill Belichick. And, of course, you see a little bit of us giving our take on Bill Burr's reaction to Patriots fans that want Bill Belichick gone. And, of course, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and at the Noete at Eastern Time is episode 17 of the Jacksonian with this man on my left, John D'Animo, the host of the Ocho and co-host of Michigan Football at The Voice College Football, where we give our take on the alleged sign stealing scandal. Is Sharon Moore the next Ryan Day? We talk about what's going to happen with Jim Harbaugh, what's happening with the coaching staff. And we also talk about Michigan, Ohio State, amongst the other topics. Stay tuned, everyone. It's going to be a fun one, and it's going to be a wild ride tomorrow night. So stay tuned. Y'all have a good night. Sleep well. Stay safe. Stay warm. It's cold out, but I got a feeling it's colder where you guys and girls are at.
It just started getting colder here.
Yeah, it's not that cold right now.
Jason's got to get his own podcast, man. This guy is entertaining.
I'm glad I'm not following that.
He's got one. He's got the Jacksonian. That's why everybody needs to tune in tomorrow night.
Jackson, why don't you get your own podcast?
Jackson, how cold is it where you're at?
I don't know, and I don't want to know.
Well, were you a communications
It's
major?
probably 50 degrees for him, and he's probably all complaining about it.
Hey, JJ, were you a communications major or something?
No, I just I just talk to people.
Got a knack. He's got a knack for it. That's what it is.
It's just
all right,
Southern.
Jackson. We'll see you tomorrow night, okay? All right,
Stay
bye,
safe,
Jackson.
stay warm. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
See you, Jackson.
All right,
Buckeye Mike has asked to go next because he said he's at work wrapping up. So Buckeye Mike, final thought. Where can people find you?
So my final thought, because this whole thing's been irritating me and I'm in a mood on 5 hours of sleep wanting to prove that I'm right.
Yeah.
And I quote, Meyer was suspended without pay and banned from interacting with the football team through September 2nd. Can join the team at that point. He will not be able to coach in games against Oregon State, Rutgers, and TCU. The Oregon State game was September 1st, which means he was able to come back and coach the team during practice during the week, the day after that first game. So that's my thoughts on that. My final thoughts are, I don't care who wins this game. I accept the winner. I accept the loser. I just hope it's a good game. That's all we hope for. I understand this is huge. This is the last one that is actually huge because we're looking at a future of Ohio State, Michigan 3 times a year, at least twice for sure, but most likely 3. And let's all just come back here and be civil with each other afterwards. You want to brag about the win? Okay, but let's not be egregious. And where people can find me on Twitter at TylerLeedy4. And if you want to respectfully talk about it over there, that's fine. We can talk. I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys next time.
Later, Buckeye Mike. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Mike.
See you later.
Bye.
All right. So I'll reverse back to the order we were going. So next up, we'll have Sean Garner.
Hi guys. Just pumped for the best weekend of the year. I don't know. A little uncomfortable facing a couple straight losses. That hasn't happened since I was a little kid. But I mean, that's what rivalries are made for, right? I mean, it's no fun if one side dominates the entire time. I'm a little worried. I think there might be some violence. I'm sure there will be some violence amongst the people in attendance. Like I've been to 5 of these games and I've never not seen a fight.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah,
I mean it's
people get liquored up early.
Different than most. This year's way different than most, and there's only one tunnel. So
yeah, oh boy, yeah. People get liquored up starting
I mean, like just honestly, I mean, I do have some concern that things can get really, really, really ugly here, and I just hope and pray that doesn't happen.
Yeah, me too.
So you know what? Oh wait, go Bucks! Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, Sean. All right, next up we got Minnesota Dave. Final thought.
Well, my final thoughts are basically we have the second biggest college football rivalry in the Big Ten going on in my place, Wisconsin versus Minnesota, which I consider more of the Big Ten's beer rivalry, which is more of a we'll get you next year type rivalry. But I'm really hoping that we can figure out what the heck our problem is. Hopefully we're a lot healthy. This is what a game, the Wisconsin-Minnesota game is going to be a game against who's more healthy coming into the game, because a lot of the teams I feel are battered up. Wisconsin has a lot of lost wide receivers. Minnesota, their running back they're just going for running backs up and down. One gets hurt, one restarts. Well, that's what happens when you have a running back that constantly has to be used, about carrying the ball about 30 to 25 times a game. And of course there is, our defensive front line did not look good at all against Ohio State, but Ohio State's really good. But that's pretty much it. I feel that the Gophers will end up winning in a squeaker, 30 to 28.
Okay.
And well, before I go, you can find me at the University of Minnesota as a custodian. That's pretty much it. I don't really do a lot of social media. And I would say my question for everybody before they leave is, are you a turkey or are you a sides person?
Oh,
Sides.
Sides, 100%.
No.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm a sides.
technically
I'm
neither.
not a turkey person. I prefer ham.
Yeah,
All right. All right. Well, I'm out of here. Have a nice night, guys. See you next week.
See you.
Later, Dave.
Have a good Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, Dave.
All right. Darth Fort, you're up.
As far as where you're going to find me, in about 5 minutes, you're going to find me outside on the porch having a cigar and a cup of coffee. As far as social media, still nothing. Never have, never will. Just like caffeine with 7-Up.
Jesus, coffee. Wait, is it caffeinated at 9:39?
Well, it's 8:39 here, but
sorry.
Oh yeah, I don't. I can sleep just fine.
Okay,
So I got to get up in
Wait, 7-Up doesn't have caffeine.
the. That's why I said never had it, never will.
Okay, just the way you said that was funny.
That was the old slogan. 7-Up with caffeine. Never had it, never will. It might be a little bit before your time, but
Maybe.
for another talking point for those of you interested in football, there's a potential Super Bowl matchup. The Chiefs and the Eagles right now. Chiefs are up 14-7, getting close to halftime. And like I said, no matter who wins this game, I'm hoping that after this, both sides will settle the hell down. I'm kind of looking for some peace after this game myself. And I won't be on the panel on Sunday because I'm going under the knife next Monday.
Whoa.
So I'm going to be a little bit in a recovery.
Okay.
And I'll probably be on the following panel. I might be off camera because my shoulder will be in a sling because I'm having a shoulder replacement surgery on the 27th.
Well, I hope it all goes well, man.
I hope so too. But everybody have a good. Everybody have a good Turkey Day. Be kind to everybody. Calm the hell down in here. It's just football. Hopefully everybody, like I said, just takes a chill pill after this. Some good sports. Congratulate the winners. Don't be smug, whoever you are. Don't be an ass. I know it's going to be tougher for some people than others, but give it a shot anyways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be tough for me.
And you all have a good one.
Good
All
luck
right.
with your surgery.
Good
Thanks,
luck,
Mike.
Yeah, good luck, Mike.
I don't know if he heard me or not, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's
He just
something.
threw that
Mike,
in there, eh?
Yeah, Mike Rotunda also says good luck, and KC, and that's the community we have here. Everybody. You might be rivals, you might be Michigan, Ohio State, or whatever, but we still root for each other when it comes to off the field stuff. So that's always nice. All right, Erica. Final thought, and where can people find you?
Final thought. I am ready to kick some Husker rear end. Go back to the tradition where we beat them 8 years in a row before they won last year. I'm ready to go back to that. And I think it's going to be a super close game on Friday. Looking forward to it. It's always a fun one. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it, at Eriquita0115. And I guess I'll be put in the chat. There you go. I talk about the Hawkeyes, both college football and women's basketball, because we have the best female player in the country on our team. Not to brag, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about politics from time to time, and I post cute photos of dogs and talk about travel. So if any of that is your cup of tea, feel free to follow. And if not, then I guess don't. That's fine too. And I do want to also echo Mike's sentiment that I hope people are respectful and kind to each other following whatever game your team or teams is playing in. I know I get over enthusiastic sometimes about the Hawkeyes because, let's be real, we do take a lot of crap because our offense is ridiculous, and I understand why. I'm not saying I get why it happens, but it is exhausting as somebody who is on the side of a team that does get made fun of all the time. So yeah, try to be kind. That's the spirit of the holidays coming up here. And other than that, I hope everybody has a very happy Turkey Day and enjoys all the food and football.
Thanks, Erica. You have a great Turkey Day too, and thanks for coming back.
Go Hawks.
Happy Thanksgiving, Erica.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Erica.
All right. Next up, we got Hummus Hero. Final thought, and if you want to share where people can find you.
Yeah, I mean, you can just find me usually on my couch, sometimes by the fridge. Every few Saturdays you can find me on Lane Avenue by the Horseshoe, hopefully. But really, yeah, I don't have any social media, so it's a joke.
All good, man.
But my final thoughts are, I'm really pumped up for all these rivalries this weekend, and not just the ones that have national title implications. The Iowa and Nebraska is fun, even though Iowa's sewed up the Big Ten championship spot, but all of them, it's just fun to watch. But really, I think everybody should step back and appreciate this season, because we've moved through the eras. Most of us who are a little bit older anyways, we went from watching a bunch of organizations of sports writers and voters and people kind of somewhat arbitrarily name national champs, to the Bowl Coalition, to the BCS, to the 4-team playoff era. And now, all of that change, it's really going to change the most when we enter into this 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
The games like the Iron Bowl and the game are not going to hold the same ramifications that they did. It's going to be completely different. This year, for example, Ohio State and Michigan would be rematching. If it was next year, we would be rematching in Indy the following week, and neither team could be spoiled really, even by losing both games. They would still both be into the 12-team playoff. So everything's really going to change moving forward. So I think we should appreciate what made these rivalries what they were. It was spoiling each other's season. When your rival was on top, you could knock them off in one foul swoop. You could take them from being a national title contender to ending their season right there. You know what I mean? And it's going away. And I'm not saying that it's going to be fun seeing more teams get a chance and all this stuff, but it's really going to change. So I just think everybody should appreciate rivalry week this year more than ever, because it's the last time you're going to see it. And I think it's very fitting that what most people, definitely in our respective two states, all agree is the greatest rivalry in all of sports, but most people across the country also agree that the game is the pinnacle of American sports. And for it to be winner take all, most likely, and the final year of our current format, I think is just very, very fitting, so, but that's kind of the end of my rant, and good luck to everybody's teams, and hopefully, hopefully the Buckeyes win, because I don't know if I can deal with all you guys talking trash for another year. It's been 700 some days, and I lived through the 90s.
But we had to hear for 7 years straight with Urban Meyer, so
we had a tough run there for a while.
2000 plus days of it, I know. So, but you guys, John's a little bit younger, but the mid 90s were not kind to Ohio State. So we took our lumps back then, and it was really bad because we had some great teams. But we'll see what happens this week, and good luck to both teams. May the best team win, and go Buckeyes.
Thanks, Hummus.
Thanks, guys.
All right, happy Thanksgiving. And Moose, we wrap up with you, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great week. You can find me on Twix. So yeah, just pretty. Hummus had a really nice going out speech. That was pretty cool. Yeah, he's right. We are gonna miss this rivalry when everything changes. But yeah, John, they tried to duck us, and with that scandal and everything. But we know that nothing's gonna stop us. It's gonna stop Ohio State from getting that L on 11-25. So no, but all jokes aside, I do think it's going to be a really good football game. I think they're pretty evenly matched. I think Michigan is slightly better on both sides, but I think it's gonna be a good game. But I'm excited, so I can't wait till Saturday. But that's it, John. That's all I got for you. Go Blue.
Go Blue. Happy Thanksgiving. All right. Woo. This is the earliest we've ended this show probably in a long time. But we have a doubleheader tomorrow night. So I'm trying to, get a little rest and everything for tomorrow. We've got Michigan Wolverines live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Tanner Wooten from Blue by 90. I'm working on an Ohio State guest, and we're going to see who we can drum up. And then the Jacksonian after party is what I'm calling it. Episode 17 of the Jacksonian. Jackson and I are going to go through all things Michigan, including the game, including Signgate, and lots of other stuff. Is Jim Harbaugh going to stay or go? Things that we've been touching on throughout the year on Michigan Wolverines Live and on Big Ten Live, but I think it'll be a nice wrap up of really all the things we've been covering the last few months. So check that out. And of course, our usual comments and wrap up stuff. We do have a sponsor called Ticketsmarter.com. Get your tickets. We still have another game or two. Then we have the playoffs and the bowl games. You can get tickets to those. Basketball's coming up and happening now. There's still NFL. So there's lots you can get on Ticketsmarter.com. Use promo code BIG for $10 off and BIG20 for $20 off. Get smarter with Ticketsmarter. Also, as always, when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, and now it's Christmas, so everybody's getting their Christmas presents, click on the Amazon link and just get Mark Rogers a couple of bucks with using the Amazon link in any description section of any video. We also have a merch store, and another way that you can, maybe someone asks you, what do you want for Christmas? Well, you might answer, get me some Voice of College Football merch, and vice versa. Maybe you want to, a lot of college football fans that might like some Voice of College Football merch for the holiday season. Anything from keychains to t-shirts to mugs to swimming trunks. Here in Florida, you can still wear them. Candles and aprons and you name it. It is all here on the Voice of College Football merch store. We got bucket hats. We got wine tumblers. We got yoga pants. All kinds of things for everybody in your life. All the college football fans. Get you some merch. And here's the link one more time. We do have a super chat coming in from Moose. Great show, John. Go Blue. Absolutely go Blue. And we are only a few days away now. 5 days away from the game. And it'll finally be settled on the field. Who's going to be superior? We'll find out in just a few days. Also, join the Patreon, join YouTube membership, and you get access to our Discord where you can talk college football all the time. Sign up at patreon.com/MarkRogersTV or get yourself a YouTube membership right here on the main channel. And if you have a business, a service, a product, a personal brand, you can get yourself sponsored on the Voice of College Football. Contact Mark Rogers at markrogerstv@gmail.com. That's it for me tonight. Coming up next at 11 p.m. Eastern, join me and in chat, and then watch as we'll have Mark Rogers, Tim Prangley, and Matt Zemek from Trojans Wire talk about USC football. And this one might be a real come to Jesus type show after the UCLA result. So the title of the episode is How Far Is Down? So if nothing else, make them feel a little better by hitting the like button. And I'm going to put the link right here in chat. you know, because the USC guys are going through it right now. Okay, so just go on over there, hit the like button. If you can stay for the 11 o'clock show, just tell them John sent you. You know, so that they can track, you know, all the people coming in from Big Ten Live. So that's coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. Trojans Conquest Live with Mark Rogers, Tim Prangley, and Matt Zemek from Trojans Wire. And that's it for me. My name is John Diadamo. I was your host for the last 2 hours. Join me tomorrow night at Michigan on the Michigan channel for Michigan Wolverines Live at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then the Jacksonian over on Jackson Johnson's YouTube channel right after. And until next time, as always, go blue and see you around.